the biggest thing that drives men and women, this insatiable desire to mate and procreate and whatever, it's still there.
Are you allowed to bring a camera into strip clubs?
Well, I was.
You were?
I
Okay.
was. Listen, that's a big part of my process is I see the place I'm not supposed to go and I go, oh, I'm going.
How were you allowed to take photos there? And why did you want to take photos?
You don't have to not have vices. You don't have to live in a monastery. There's nothing wrong with risk, but you have to identify it, understand it, and have a path to mitigate it should it arise. You don't have to lose every aspect of yourself, but you do have to adapt. You do have to evolve. If we could wake up magically one day and end up in this magical utopia that nobody wanted to commit violence on another human, I'd go, no guns. I love it. If there was a reality where peace could be achieved in this country, why do we need guns?
Mr. Roi Allen, how you doing, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Do you know who Naval Ravikant is at all?
I don't, but I'm terrible at names.
Okay. He's
You got a picture? No.
he's an angel investor, and he has this little saying of you have a bear, right? And that's kind of interesting. And then you have a unicycle. That's kind of interesting, but you have a bear on a unicycle. That's really fucking interesting. And so when I was like looking at your stuff, I was like, you're the bear on the unicycle, man. Like you're into guns and with the military, and then you have all this aesthetically beautiful photography and cinematic work. It's kind of like that shocking factor.
Yeah. I think the most interesting things, and they're essentially alluding to dichotomy, juxtaposition. I think the most interesting people that I've met have been completely dichotomous. You get to cover some range. So I was in the military for a while. I did.
When did you get
I did
in?
my infantry stuff there. I got in when I was 20.
Okay. Young buck.
Yeah. But I was a kid from Oklahoma. It was do that or go roughneck. Either one were cool options, but for some reason I walked into a recruiter's office. They didn't harass me. I harassed them. And they're like, all right, you did pretty good on your ASVAB. They give this test, this aptitude test to figure out if, do you need to fly a plane or get shot at? Or, And they're like, you did pretty good. What do you want to do? And I was like, who are the guys on the ground that shoot at the other guys and get shot at? And they're like, well, those are infantrymen. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And they're like, are you sure you actually did good on the test? You got choices. I'm like, no, I want to do that. I was also probably not just hungover, but still drunk. But
Because it's 20-year-old.
yeah. And then
Why did you want to do that? Because you tested so well on that test, you didn't need to be an infantryman.
I don't know. When I thought I would join the military, there's kind of a multifaceted reason for that. 9/11 was still fresh, and there was that, I think, collective consciousness where we felt collectively confused and powerless, and everybody started chipping. We're actually getting along because that brought us together, and it's unfortunate it takes something catastrophic like that for us to just fucking get along. But I think we all chipped in whatever way we could, and if you were a young kid, military-age male, coming past your adolescence and a young adulthood in the country, a lot of my peers, we joined the Army. We're like, let's do what we can. Let's go fight.
Yeah, it was a good trend because, negative trend, but that was when everyone was okay with American flags outside their porch or their door, and it wasn't so split up. And it's sad that it took such a catastrophic event to do so. Yeah. I hope it doesn't have to do again. Something like that doesn't have to happen again for us to all unite.
Yeah, I don't know what's motivating us to be so divisive and not see the commonality. For the longest time. So when I got out of the military, I kind of fell into photography and cinematography, and I thrived in it. I enjoyed it. It was something that was very healing, very therapeutic to me. And I tell a lot of guys, the thing with transitioning out, you spend so much time in, and you're trained and you're honed and you're conditioned and you're wired. And that's who you are. You have literally been curated into this being that is the most efficient version of yourself for the mission. Now, then one day maybe you decide to ETS, and that's the acronym for getting out. I don't even know if I know what ETS stands for. Yeah, whatever. It means you're getting the fuck out. You've decided to get out. You're like, all right, I'm done. You're like, wait, you don't want to re-enlist again? I'm like, nah.
4 years?
We're getting out. No, I did 7.
7, okay.
Yeah. They got me once. I was like, no.
They got you once?
You already
again.
got me. I re-enlisted once, so that's twice.
Well, people re-enlist all the time just because the benefits are so good, right?
Well, a lot of it's secure, but then there's a lot of reasons to stay in. There's a handful of reasons to get out. But when you get out, there's not as much process as getting in and being, turned into that. They're like, all right, they do kind of a 2-week out process. And they're like, all right, bye. So I tell a lot of guys when they're getting out, you just went from having purpose, a fulfilling, holistic, completely immersive purpose in life. Every day you woke up, you had a mission. You had guys to your left and right. You had entire teams and organizations. You had, platoon, company, battalion, brigade, division. You had like this massive operation of guys that would go out. Some guys would gather intel. They'd come back. They'd disseminate. They'd analyze. Boom. They'd give it to the, commanders. They'd brief their guys. So you always had a mission. And then one day you get out and you're a civilian. If you don't find the next mission, you're a little fucked.
You could get lost.
Humans without a purpose or not, it's not a wonderful thing. We need purpose. And I'm not getting into gender or anything, but I'm going to say men, I'm speaking from my experience.
Yeah.
I'm a man. I think men need purpose. We need a direction. We need a mission. And we also need clarity on how to achieve that mission. And if it gets too big and we're looking at something very large and go, I have to achieve this mission, you're like, that can be a problem. So you go, okay, what can I do today to get to tomorrow's task and the next and the next? So, yeah, anyway.
But it's also very structured, right? You know what you're going to do at this time of day. You're going to wake up. You're going to make your bed the certain way, correct? And then, you have the task of, whatever the military duty that you were assigned to. And then when you get out, from my understanding, from all my other friends, I have a lot of friends in the Marines. When they got out, they just decided...
I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you have any attitudes towards other different branches of the military while you're in it? I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, the Marines are the best. The Air Force is the best. Oh, the U.S. Army is the best.
No, we kind of take the piss. We kind of fuck with each other. But for the most part, we get along. I love all my jarhead buddies. Hell, I went Army infantry, and my brother, who's 3 years younger than me, he went 0311. He went Marine infantry. So I was like, hell, as long as you go on infantry, man.
Yeah. Well, what would you describe the difference would be to people out there who don't know much about the military?
So I feel like, Army infantry can vary pretty drastically depending on unit. And hell, you've got light, you've got mech, and then you've got, your special forces, you've got. But I love the notion with Marines, every Marine a rifleman. So I'm pretty sure some of their fucking cooks can possibly outshoot some of our, less high-speed infantry guys in the Army.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love the notion of that. What I worry about generationally is across the board, Army, Marines, regardless, I don't know if we're training for a peer to engagement. I worry
Say that again? You don't know if you're training to peer engagement?
So we're so worried about, kind of some cultural revolutions that I'm worried it's impeding some of the elements about going through the military. Like, let's talk about the abuse and hazing and all that stuff that you go, wait a minute, that I'm going to advocate for certain elements of that because that duress, that psychological duress and the hunger and the sleeplessness and some of those elements that were brutal, that trained a generation of young men and said, this is nothing. We're family. We're doing this because we realize what you're going to deal with out there, those people are not going to hold back. They're going to hurt you. They're going to kill you. They're going to harm you. They're going to do everything they can and break you down.
This is nothing compared to that.
Yeah. So some of the things that we're chipping away at that had a purpose, and we look at them and we go, oh, that's awful. That doesn't look like fun. No, it's not, because we're preparing these young men to go into something absolutely inhumane. unnatural. It's not. It's brutal. It's violent. So I feel like some of the other armies out there, I feel like they're not really playing those games or pouring too much into some of those cultural revolutions. I think they're just beating the crap out of their guys and going, great, you're tough as nails now. Go out there and do your job.
Yeah.
Nobody
What's
cares.
the importance of that? What's the importance of that camaraderie, that, I guess, brotherhood or sisterhood per se?
Well, it pulls you together. The old phrase is in the trenches. You know, you've gone through some. You could think of a couple of your buddies that you've been through some shit with,
100%.
and you're like, my man, a little trauma bonding. I don't know,
Yeah.
but you got through it together,
Yeah.
and it made you stronger, and it made you more unified, and it brought you together. That's the thing about the military is you've got a large group of people that had to cohesively work together with a common operating picture and achieve a mission, and often an insurmountable, unachievable mission. And you go, all right, we've got what we've got. We've got us. We've got, all right, how much ammo we got? How much 5.56 do we have? All right, cool. How much? You're like, look around at what you have. All right, you got to figure it out, or you possibly die, or I don't know. It's just when you've got your back to a wall, and I think it's healthy. I worry if we're a little too coddled even outside the military now, that maybe we don't have our back against the wall enough. Oh, the Wi-Fi's out. Oh, my printer's not working again.
My GPS isn't working.
Does anybody have the Wi-Fi code?
Yeah.
Like, it's devastating to a lot of people if they can't connect to the Wi-Fi at the coffee shop. They're like, this is unacceptable. Like, oh yeah, that's a real problem. That's
Well, it's that saying of the hardest thing that's ever happened to you is the hardest thing that's ever happened to you. So regardless of the vast difference in hardship objectively, that it could be the same feeling. You know, like a lot of these people will never be exposed to a lot of the experiences military men have been in. And a lot of people will never be exposed to just slight hardships outside of Wi-Fi not being had.
And I'd say they're probably psychologically better off because you go, okay, great. Look at the tenacity and the ability to survive hardship of these young soldiers. And then you go, yeah, but then they come out of the other side, and now where are they? They're standing in a cereal section looking at the awe-inspiring amount of options, having a meltdown and going, I'm not emotionally prepared to make these decisions. So, all right, that's not an overwhelmingly common thing, but some guys are hit at the weirdest moments that you're like sitting in traffic on the 101 going, you know, when I was in Iraq on that 50 cal, I just let off a couple of rounds and it parted like the Red Sea. Damn. Yeah, so there's a lot of adjustment, a lot of those moments that sit with you, and a lot of guys, they don't focus on mental health, which stems from your physical health. Continue going to the gym. Continue working
there's
out.
a ton of military
Continue
people.
watching your nutrition. Continue doing some of those things that were regimented that you might not have thought about in the military, that they're out. So they're like, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's like, no. You need to keep doing that.
Hello, friends. I hope you are enjoying the show. I just wanted to chime in and talk to you about Bucked Up. If you need more protein in your diet, creatine to aid your muscle growth as well as recovery, or pre-workout for your demanding sets during your workouts, Bucked Up has you covered. I use their Snickerdoodle protein and creatine monohydrate every single day. And on days I don't feel like working out, their BAMF nootropic pre-workout keeps me swinging kettlebells, running mountains, moving weight inside and outside the gym. If you'd like to try them out and save some money, use code NateBiltz1 for 20% off any order. And back to the show. Why do you think people fall off so dramatically? Because it's not like
Accountability.
They don't have
It's
someone
100%.
telling them to do it?
So the military, you're perpetually in a position where you've got somebody saying, hey, all right, check it out, listen up. You need to do X, Y, Z. Roger, check Raj, move out, draw fire. All right, then you got your guys below you, and you say, all right, you need to do X, Y, Z. Check Raj, all right, move out, draw fire. So there's this constant chain of accountability, and you're just getting it done. And God forbid you do not get it done, because you're going to go, hey, did I not specifically tell you to do X, Y, Z? Roger. All right, you didn't. You're fucked up. You're like, dude, I just got busted up for you.
Did you know what you signed up for when you enlisted when you were 20? What did the experience itself, looking back at it after, you're like, oh, this is what I expected?
Well, nobody can really. I mean, as a civilian, when you get into the military, you might have some stories from some relatives of what they endured, but generationally that can vary. And some movies. I'm sorry, we all saw Major Payne. You remember that one?
No, I didn't watch Major Payne, though.
Oh man, you gotta watch Major. It's
Okay,
hilarious. Anyway, I'm
I
just
think
gonna allude to one scene
go
where
ahead.
this kid's like, "There's a bad guy in the closet. There's a monster in the closet," and he's like, "Brah, brah, brah." He just opens up. He's like, "If he's in there, he ain't happy." Something. Yeah. No. Anyway, so we have these are Pauly Shore in the Army now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can tell I'm 40. All my references are like, funny Army movies from the 90s or Stripes or, but, what do we have? That's the only thing. So you roll into that going, oh, maybe it's like in the movies. And you're like, so you get in and, it's not.
It's not. Before we continue this week's conversation, I just wanted to take a quick moment and talk to you about our friends at Mudwater. Their original blend is a coffee alternative made of 100% organic cacao, masala chai, turmeric, lion's mane, reishi, and cordyceps to give you natural energy and focus without the jitters or crash. When I know I'm gonna have a long day ahead of me, I mix the Mudwater original blend with some whole milk and a couple drops of honey to elevate my day. In my opinion, it's more flavorful than a chai latte and is better fuel for my body. To elevate your day and get the benefits of coffee without the jitters or crash, click the link below to receive 20% off. And back to the show. I had a golf coach who was in the Marines, and he would have something against military movies because I believe he watched Sniper in, I don't know what year.
American Sniper?
American Sniper.
Yeah.
And he was like, that doesn't represent like what the military was to me, or that wasn't it. And so he was just so against like Hollywood and military movies.
So I'm gonna tell you, probably about between 1,000 and 10,000% of the time. No, there's probably a couple of good movies out there, but it sucks being a military guy and watching movies. You're just like. Yeah, it lost me. So you're supposed to have suspension of disbelief. You're supposed to, if a movie can, so you have suspension of disbelief and you're engaging in the movie and everything's going well and the narrative is carrying you and the cinematography is carrying you and you're like, oh, wow, what a wonderful journey. But if you're a military guy, you're watching, you're like, why is that fucking rank upside down? I was like, that's a specialist, not a servant. Oh, my God.
They're doing it wrong.
Lost me.
Doing it wrong.
Or a lot of times, and so we're doing a lot of, we're ramping up a lot of advertisements. And what's great about this is I've got my whole cinema team and all my cinema experience and all my photographer experience, and I get to meld that with it. So I'm having fun. I'm about to do some John Wick shit.
Yeah. Well, some of your artwork and stuff, you incorporate all these models with guns as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's technically correct because you wouldn't have any other way.
Yeah. Well, sometimes not. But what we started to do is take the talent before we even get into shooting some of the more high-speed stuff coming out. We're taking the talent to the range and we're drilling them and we're going through stuff and we're getting them classes because, you could throw an actor and a weapon into something and you're like,
they don't know how to hold it properly.
Like, man, that just does not look right. Yeah. They're not moving. Oh, man. Okay. So sometimes, I used to take a lot of this for granted until I started like, offering classes and training people, and you go, this isn't just automatic muscle memory for anybody. They're like,
it's normal to you.
Finding cover, transitioning targets, mount trains, like stuff like that. And you're like, oh man, this looks like shit. All right, we gotta go through
work
this.
on
it. We gotta
step by step.
Yeah,
from the ground up.
Yeah, crawl, walk, run. Here we go. Maybe like really crawl. Some walking. All right, we're running. All right, but I think we digress. Where were we?
Oh, no worries. When you got out of the military and you said did you just gravitate towards photography first, or was it towards like the firearms?
All right, I don't know if I should give you the PC answer or the real answer.
Give me the real answer. Do you want some more?
What do you think?
Yeah, of course. Let's go.
I hear you're a mixologist.
Used to be. I just quit in November. I did it for 7 years. I'll give you some bitters.
Why'd you quit?
Because I was just busy personal training, and I would be at the bar until 2, 3. I loved it. I loved the fact that you could meet so many cool people. You could share your art form with people, as well as learn about their life, as well as become an artist of your own craft. Yeah. But then my personal training would start at 5, 6 a.m. So I'd get home at like 3. My first client's at 6. I did that.
You gotta have energy to train people.
Yeah. So like I would wake up, drink a energy drink, train clients, take a few naps, and then run a few podcasts, and then get back after it at night at the bar. And I did that for 2 years, and the personal training finally paid off. And I came to a point where personal training and podcasting was doing better than mixology. And I still love it. And I like to make drinks for my friends as we go out, or just around the house, or be creative with it at home. So yeah, that's the reasoning.
Well,
cheers, bro.
Cheers to evolution.
Evolution to growth and evolution. What's the non-PG answer? What's the real answer?
Many aspects of my work have become pretty elevated, and as I've
beautiful, dude.
I didn't always take it seriously. So when I was a kid from Oklahoma, joining the military and getting into that, and then whatever, so there was a certain mentality and there was a certain amount of life experience there. Not saying I've digressed completely from that. That's still very much.
I'm still having fun.
So it really didn't start in some elevated editorial fashion, Givenchy, and all. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's giving me.
It's very sweet.
It's giving me. It's Patrick de Marchelier. It's like no, it was pretty much giving Terry Richardson. Okay. So it really started in the strip clubs in Fort Hood, Texas. It started like Sam's Dollhouse and.
Are you allowed to bring a camera into strip clubs?
Well, I was.
You were? Okay.
I was. Listen, that's a big part of my process is I see the place I'm not supposed to go and I go, oh, I'm going. I want to get. So I always kind of finagled my way into those scenarios. So
I think
and it was like a big thing, but it was so kind of, I don't know. It was weird. It was I'm like, whatever. So I started moonlighting. I started doing photography.
Okay.
Then I started bouncing at a place called Ernie's
in Oklahoma,
in Harker Heights. So this is all based in Fort Hood, Texas. That was my duty station.
Got it.
And any of the guys that watch this, any of the guys that see this, that are like anyone that's been based in Killeen or Harker Heights, Copper Cove, it's a vibe. It's a very specific. They're gonna be like, hell yeah, I remember Ernie's. Yeah, they put out an APB and they're like, you have sergeant majors and colonels putting out memorandums saying, all right, listen up. I better not see anyone from my friggin' brigade over at
Ernie's.
It is on the no-fly list. It is blacklisted. You will not. And I'm over here bouncing there, and I'm like, so I talked to the NCO in charge of me at the time. I'm like, I'm not gonna say his name. And I'm like, is this gonna be problematic? I'm like bouncing there. And they're like, you're pretty much ETS. I don't give a shit.
So how were you allowed to take photos there? And why did you want to take photos?
So I don't know. I can't even remember how I worked that, but I generally have a way of working something, but I can't remember. But, I just remember something so silly. Oh, this is bad.
PG-13 version?
No, it's not even amoral. It's just hilarious.
Oh, okay.
I remember making these little Vistaprint cards and having a binder with the sleeves and printing off some of the stuff I had shot.
Oh, nice.
And I got a couple of my guys from the unit to wear like matching like black tees, and we'd like roll around and be like, oh yeah, check it. I'm pretty sure I had a Nikon D40 with it's just like.
So you printed out the photos and you put it in a book.
I had like my little portfolio. No, it's funny looking back, and I hadn't seen any of that work in like probably 10, 15 years.
Do you still have it?
And so yeah, I found a drive and I started looking through it. And I was like, oh God, it's so bad. It's so bad. We all start somewhere.
Yeah. Are you a lover of making cocktails or work as a career or part-time bartender? If so, mix like a pro with A Bar Above. A Bar Above has the best mixing tools on the market, from shakers and strainers to mallets and ice picks. A Bar Above has you covered with all your cocktail needs. Use code BILTZ, BILTZ, for 10% off any order. What characteristics make your photos now so much better than your photos back then?
Back then, I didn't even have a rudimentary understanding of photography. I didn't take it seriously. I bought a Nikon D40 with an 18 to whatever kit lens. I didn't even understand why it had a variable aperture. I'm like, well, I zoom in and it's 5.6, and I do this and it's
The f-type.
I don't even know what's going on.
The f-type.
The f-stop.
F-stop. Yeah.
I just kind of jumped into it. And, generally I figured things out by just jumping into them. But I just got in there and started swinging, and I'm just shooting strippers from Fort Hood, Texas. And I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, so I ETS. I end up in Houston, Texas, and I'm working the agencies. And that it exponentially, it very rapidly kind of progressed. And here I am, several months in ETSing. I've already kind of crushed it with the agencies out there, and I realized, man, I'm still fucking regional. This isn't sexy. I'm like, all right.
Agencies like modeling agencies?
Yeah, modeling agencies.
Okay.
So I'd already started really adhering to and cleaning up my brand and being like, okay, we need to just bury all that tripper stuff. So I'm looking at
And you had time to do this? You had time to do this during the military?
As much time as you had being a mixologist
Sounds good.
I feel like some of us hustle, some of us get it.
It's hard, but when you love every aspect of what you do, like you just keep going.
Yeah.
No matter how tired you are, no matter how much energy you have, you're just like, I'm gonna keep going and doing this thing.
And there's that learning curve. You go, all right, if your competition or your peers or your contemporaries are doing, 5 shoots a week, and you go, okay, I got to figure this out. I'm going to do 30 shoots a week. And you go, cool. And that means I'll be at the 20-year market. Whatever. It's just,
for sure. I heard this, I follow this business guy. His name is Alex Ramosi. And he talks about most people don't understand how much work it takes between good and great. Like the amount of reps a professional has versus the amateur. Like The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield as well. Just being obsessed and determined.
Wait, The War of Art.
The War of Art.
Oh, it's a play off the Art of War.
Yeah.
I see what he did.
Have you not read the book, The War of Art?
I've read The Art of War.
Okay, I've read The Art of War as well. So The War of Art talks about this concept of resistance, of relationships could be resistance, video games could be resistance, alcohol could be resistance, like entertainment. Basically, all these are just resisting you from doing your actual work that you need to appease this muse of this craft that you're working on.
I gotta read this.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I think you'd really like it.
I love it.
With all your art and everything like that.
Because I love, as much of the good work as I've done, I realized in the early part of my life, I had thrown out a lot of resistance. And then as soon as I started eliminating some of that resistance and taking things seriously, I was like, oh, well, now we're getting some shit done.
Makes it easier.
Yeah. You're like, why am I hindering myself? Why am I? It's like, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I'm so ambitious. I want to do X, Y, Z. And it's like, but you're kind of self-sabotaging a lot,
Well, everyone has
does that serve you?
Yeah.
I love the phrase out, and I learned it out here. There's some West Coast things I learned out here that I love. Does it serve you? And another phrase I love, like holding space. And I'll say that to like buddies back home. Like, what do you mean holding space? You got to hold space for yourself. You got to hold space for the people you've chosen to. But you got to be careful who you hold space for, because that can be detrimental. And then does it serve you? And that can be a habit. It can be a person. It could be just a series of decisions. You go, all right, what's your goal? Let's go back to the goal. People forget the goal. And you go, hold on, no. Go back to the goal. What's the goal? Okay, cool. What are you doing throughout the day to get there? Is there anything hindering the process, fostering resistance? I got to read that book.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. What things serve you right now that got you from taking photos in strip clubs to selling your art for the tremendous dollar amount that I saw? I was like, this is crazy. This is amazing.
Yeah. So the eureka moment was taking it seriously, really taking it seriously. I didn't have any guidance when I got out, and that's something I had alluded to. Is a lot of guys get out, there's no guidance. There's no one telling you what to do. There's no sergeant major. There's no colonel. There's no first sergeant. There's no you just figure it out. So there was obviously the period where I didn't have it figured out, and then the period I didn't have it figured out, and then the period I didn't have it figured out. No, anyway.
Yeah.
I hope we never find the period I've got it figured out. Oh my God.
Life becomes
I
boring.
Figured it out. No, hopefully you're always endeavoring to figure it out. And you're always progressing, you're always doing better, but you're insatiably curious. You got to take it seriously, though. And fortunately, it was a very small period where, there was that Fort Hood, Texas, that period. But that was important to start and get a camera in my hands. Otherwise, here's why I talk to a lot of parents and I say, experiment. Put a violin in that kid's hand. Put a camera in that kid's hand. Make it tactile and see what really resonates with them. Because if I had never touched a camera and realized how much I connected and enjoyed that, I would have totally missed this. So I've experimented with the guitar. I'm like, wow, no musical abilities. Violin, piano. I'm like, I just don't speak that language. So I've had a period where I experimented with a lot of different things because I would go, maybe there's something here. But visually, the camera, still photography and cinematography, and now I've moved on to like just production and directing and creative direction. That all makes sense. But you got to start taking it seriously, and you elevate your brand. And also the perspective, the education. You have to. I used to be very anti-education. I was like, all right, formal education. Yeah, what a racket. What a scam. What a scheme. But I kind of dug back in, and during the pandemic, I said, well, things have slowed down. I'm going to educate myself. So I got sucked into it, and I went, all right, I get it. There's elements of this that are completely obnoxious, and you go, all right, what are these people doing here? But there's so much value to that because you're not going to just arbitrarily guide yourself to the bits of knowledge you need. There's a curated approach that teaches you. You got to educate yourself. It's a good idea. So I had a curator that followed me, and she would constantly comment on images and make these statements and go, that's very Herb Ritts, or that's very Dimash Lier, or that's very Helmut Newton, or Horse P. Horse. And I'm like, I don't know who these people are. And so I start looking, and I'm like, oh, I've never seen photographer in my life. I feel like this is the first time I'm seeing a real photographer, seeing some of these legends. Man Ray, some of these guys, I'm like, oh, wow, what a compliment. So it took me further down the...
It made you understand it more, too, because, like, you didn't know what that analogy was. That curator was saying something, you're like, I don't know what that is.
So, but then I go, all right, I want to know. But context. So taking it seriously, educating yourselves. One, remove any element of hubris or ego. If you're a person that goes, oh, no, I already know. You don't need to tell me. Look, I've got this. If you have that inability to humble yourself, even the smallest amount that you can be present, shut the fuck up. Also, I didn't even ask. Can we cuss on this?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Okay.
We're good.
So, like, kind of late in the game to ask that. So if you can't humble yourself to realize you're dumb, if you want to be smarter, just go, I'm dumb, I'm getting smarter, I'm listening. So you just got to listen and ask questions. It'll be good.
When you say take it seriously, there's a lot of people who say, I am taking it seriously. What are the characteristics of you actually taking it seriously, though?
What a good question. Oh, we're digging deeper. Oh, are we ready? So a lot of it is, I think we could be a little laissez-faire about our approach. And what does that mean? Let's get a Monday.com. And let's make a list. All right, let's make a list. And then once we've listed everything we think we need to do, by the way, not sponsored by Monday.com. Once we make a list of
it just really helped us.
Yeah, right. Once we make a list of everything we think we need to do, then let's go through and deprioritize, reprioritize everything you think needs to. Don't be afraid to get a second, third, fourth set of eyes on. We're only as good as our teams. So have the energia, have the push, have the kind of wherewithal to, you're referencing a lot of different people whose books you've read. That's healthy. Do that, because then you're going to get different perspectives of industry leaders or people that just have their shit together, and you're like, oh, wow, I never thought of that.
Well, I heard, before you continue, I heard this quote, and it was, what if you could get the lesson without the scar? What if you could read the book, experience everything that this person has in this business, in this line of work, without actually failing yourself to get the lesson?
Not going to happen. You're gonna get the scars.
You're like, I've been in it.
You're gonna get the scars. You're gonna get the well. If you're getting the trophy, you're getting the scars.
There you go.
If you don't get the scars, no trophy for you. Yeah, you're gonna have the war stories. You're gonna have the scars, and you're gonna have those moments you want to tap out. But the big difference, I feel like I'm jumping to the end of that narrative because we've got the taking it seriously. But you can't give up. If you take it seriously, you're also going to cut out some of the bullshit. So the things that don't serve you, that you're like, all right, maybe a little too much recreational. Don't be afraid to take a good, hard look at, are you drinking too much? A little too much partying, a little too much. Are you choosing the wrong partner? Oh my God, this makes a massive difference. Be very cerebral about who you choose. Your head can lie to you in a plethora of ways. Your heart can lie to you in a lot of ways as well.
Business partner, romantic partner, all the above?
I guess all the above. I would say romantic partner and business partners, I mean, the responsibility's there. But your head will lie to you, your heart will lie to you. This will lie to you a lot of ways.
100%.
But right here, right in the middle,
your gut,
that does not lie to you. That does not lie to you. And if you can't trust your business partner, and you know, that's not a partner. So pick your partners in life and allow it to serve you at least that much that you can pick good partners, because it's going to make or break you or waste 2 or 3 years of your life or not. So that's a good decision. So you don't have to not have vices. You don't have to live in a monastery, but you do have to. We always in business talk about mitigating risk. So there's nothing wrong with risk, but you have to identify it, understand it, and have a path to mitigate it should it arise. You got to do that with your fucking self.
Well, the bigger the risk in most things, usually, especially if it's on your own name, you're on your own account, it'll give you a bigger reward. Like with your own, I guess, character, with your if you're risking your character, if you're risking your own capital, if you're risking, your own time, it should pay off.
It should.
Sometimes it doesn't.
I love this theory.
What do you call it? When you picked up that camera and when you started shooting these strippers in the military, like, what did it do for you? Why did you keep doing it? Like, that's so interesting that you kept your curiosity alive.
Well, okay, now we're getting into the base understanding of what motivates, and I always speak from the position of a man. This isn't me going, the position of a man. I'm not ostracizing or eliminating the position of a woman or position of non-binary or position of any of this. So as a default statement, I'm saying, when I say from the view of a man,
from your perspective.
Yeah. So what motivates a man? All right. You look at car ads. Actually, let's focus on a different era of advertisement.
Okay.
Look at old Viagra ads, or look at
cigarette ads.
Literally Google images from old school Viagra ads of the guy laying on the fur carpet and blah blah blah. And so cigarettes, this that. So and
the Marlboro ads.
It's still prevalent in marketing, but sexuality, sensuality. So the biggest thing that drives men and women, and yeah. Argue with me if you want to, but you're either a liar or, well, really interesting to talk to. But sexuality drives us. We're humans.
100%.
This biological imperative, this insatiable desire to mate and procreate and whatever, it's still there. It's still, hopefully it doesn't dissipate, it doesn't disappear, but we're driven by...
creation.
Creation, and we're just horny bastards.
That part.
Yeah. So there's this elevated cerebral element to the artistry, but fundamentally in the beginning, there's this, I love being surrounded by beauty. I love being surrounded by, I don't know, inside and out. So there's this physical beauty and the lighting and the softness and this, and then there's the, I don't know, why wouldn't we want to, all right, people talk about manifestation. And it's such this kind of colloquial, like cliche. Oh, I want to manifest.
I think it's only cliche because so many people talk about it now.
Yeah, but it is a pure and wonderful concept, because what is manifestation? And as a producer or creative director, no one has what an an ability to manifest. We can pick and curate every element of the world around us. And for a solid 12, 13 years, I had hyper curated every element of my life to where I was only surrounded by the very specific artists around me: hair, makeup, wardrobe, set designers, the talent. We did castings, we picked. So here I was in this self-curated echo chamber, this very controlled environment that I had fostered after being in the military, which was so completely different.
So different.
And that's the ultimate form of manifestation. And you're creating images that are completely mythological. I'll make you take a real, get into this game, it'll make you take a real hard look at marketing and advertising. You're like, oh my God, it's all bullshit.
Why do you say that?
It's curated, it's controlled. There's a specific intention and mission, and it's being pushed to you. So even a lot of the news. Back in the day, there was journalistic integrity. The worst thing you can do is yellow journalism. You could not compromise your journalistic integrity. You reported factually. Now, there's been such a shift. It's entertainment. It's metrics. They make a lot of money. So it's like, I don't know, watching WWF wrestling or something. It's like, they've kind of digressed from that modicum of integrity. And now
they want
there's
clicks.
Advertised clicks, the clickbait.
They want the clickbait.
They want the scroll.
Yeah.
They want
the headline.
The algorithm dictates. Oh, hell, the algorithm. Oh, my God. So now our advertising hasn't just stayed in marketing and advertising. It's gone into media and news and. So it's kind of completely become unhinged.
So back to the curiosity of you going into the photography space, like, is it just because you can manifest like this whole scene and make it your own, and you took these ideas in your head and you turned it into your own reality that doesn't really truly exist except in your own head?
Well, I think it was obviously entrenched in sexuality. And then, there's nothing more frustrating and I wouldn't have considered myself a creative in the beginning, but I'll say there's nothing more frustrating for a creative than to have this idea, and the idea, oh my God, the ideas can be torture. Dali, I don't do drugs, I am drugs, Dali. He would have a spoon here and he would try to attack that lucid state of dreaming where, and we've all been through it, and I'm sure you've been through it, where you're almost asleep, you're almost awake, and you have this idea and you go, I got to write it down, or Alexa, write this down, or whatever, because you don't want to lose it.
Might go
and
away.
It came out of this magical middle space of conscious and subconscious. So, the spoon would hit and he'd awake and he'd write down or draw whatever scribble he did. But I definitely wasn't that cerebral in the beginning. Probably because 90% of the time I was still doing Army shit.
Yeah.
But
Where do you think ideas come from?
Pinterest. No, I'm just kidding.
That too? You can get ideas off Pinterest?
I think, I think the concept of standing on the shoulders of giants is true and true and true and true. Not to be ecclesiastical, but, nothing is new under the sun. To create something completely original that has never been heard of, generally it's predicated or built off of something that's pre-existed. We have to understand our predecessors. And a lot of the times that a lot of artists created, and a lot of producers are directing their young artists, they're not really referencing the beginning or the origin or that mustard seed that birthed that amazing idea.
I don't think they want to, because they want to say it's their own.
Yeah.
And take credit. It's mine.
You're welcome. Keep paying. But no, actually, I challenge anyone. I challenge you. I challenge anyone watching this to look at any of the new songs being released. Look at any of the new art being released. Look at and tell me that it's not entrenched in some predecessor or something that preceded it.
What's the importance of, I guess, knowing all those giants before us, those artists that your curator alluded to before you knew who they were? Like, what's the importance of knowing that?
Well, one, growth, personal growth. If you're an artist, it's, oh my God, I cannot overstate the importance of doing your due diligence. And it's important. It's incredibly important. As a curator, incredibly important. As a viewer, not so important, but if you're a viewer, view all of it.
Well, why break all of the aspects of the creative process into different people? Because obviously a curator, what they do is, from my perspective or my understanding, is, at least for me, I know like food curators. They know how to put the food or the cocktail in a very aesthetically pleasing manner for a menu for the photographer to take a photo of. But like in my head, why can't the photographer do that? Why can't the person who created the idea do that?
Now they can, but I would parallel it to the military. They do teach you, and they do encourage you. They go, know the job to the guy to your left and right, because he might not fucking be there. And my approach getting into production, entertainment, whatever you want to call it, is I spend a cost-prohibitive amount of time really wanting to analyze and understand the job to the people in my left and right. That's probably inherited from methodology from the military. And how that's played out, you'll see all kinds of pictures of me floating around of me doing hair and like doing this and doing that, because if I need to cover down and I'm like, oh, fuck, all right, I got this. So
You didn't do hair and makeup? Could you do it if you needed to?
Not makeup.
Okay.
Hair, I'm like, I can help out. Now, I will not, no. These are hyper-specialized tasks that people have dedicated their entire lives to. That'd be like saying, can I in ChatGPT not be a paralegal? I can write my law documents. I don't need a lawyer. No,
you don't understand it.
So the thing is, it would be the ultimate act of hubris to be like, okay, we can do all this. We don't need. So I pride myself on the ability that I can cover down and do this, but do I want to, or would it not be better if I had somebody only focused on set design, only focused on hair, only focused on makeup, only focused on wardrobe, because one, you have this beautiful team you've brought together, and they bring their art history and their mistakes and their failures and their successes, and they bring it all together, and they bring that all to the table. And now, as a creative director or a director or producer, the guy that listens to everybody and goes, we're going to do all this, you've got the idiots that are like, yeah, okay, thanks for your idea, but I've got this. Okay, I've got this figured out, but thank you. And then, yeah, that's fun to work with. And then you've got the guys that go, shit, I like that better than my idea. Let's run it. Let's run it. And I love the let's run it. You'll hear the let's run it out of me, because in this town, we've got a lot of great professionals. And I'm not married to any of my ideas. I have great ideas. But if somebody brings an idea to the table or some form of execution that they're like, what do you think? I'm like, I think that's way better. Okay, let's do that.
Let's run it.
Collectively, we're going to look better.
Yeah. How do you deal with the people who don't say run it? The people who say my idea is always the greatest, or the stubborn ones that you just alluded to?
Well, if they outrank me, obviously I understand the notion of rank, and I realize I need to be political. So sometimes
you can't win there.
Sometimes
you
can't
just
win.
let it happen.
Yeah, if they're signing the fucking check. But if they don't outrank me, I'm going to go, I hear you, I hold space for you, and I validate these feelings. However, you're fucking wrong, Bob. No, I find I'm definitely more tactful than I was when I was younger. Because coming out of the military, you don't have to be exactly tactful. You'd be like, how about you do flutter kicks until I'm fucking tired?
Yeah.
And you're like, all right,
I feel like the empathy in the military is not as it is in LA.
I'm sorry, did you say empathy in the military?
That's what I said.
Wait, say it again.
The empathy in the military is non-existent compared to the people in LA. You're like, I don't know that word.
Yeah, I was 11 Bravo, so I don't know a lot of words. All right, but yeah, so I like to respectfully address those situations and be like, all right, I get it, I hear you, but we're just gonna go a different direction. And honestly, I feel like that's a way healthier approach to production than nowadays, because I mean, and I'm not gonna name names, but there's some heavy hitting directors and producers out there that like to just get on set and fucking scream at people. Now, when I first got in the military and I got into production, I applied a lot of that methodology, and I realized,
this doesn't work.
why are people crying? There's literally a man sobbing inconsolably in the corner. Oh, okay. I'm not communicating very well. These leadership skills are not translating. Shit. All right. We've got to revamp the entire... So it took me probably like 2 years to really revamp my entire methodology for communication and realize, what do you mean you can't talk to artists in Hollywood like you talk to soldiers in Iraq? It should work.
People are people.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You're like, so, and that's another kind of allusion to the element of they don't train you to get out. They don't like reincorporate you into the world and spend as much time training you to be a human as they did to train you to be a sociopath.
Did you do any of personal work outside that helped you, I guess, get those communication skills and people skills to be able to work with these type of people and teams?
Yes, mushrooms.
Really, they're really good. Mushrooms changed my life too.
Yeah. So, what I love is, I'm glad we're going down this rabbit hole. What I really love is that we're in a time and era where these aren't so vilified that we go, academy treatments under a technician's observation, not just self-administered.
The right doses.
Yeah. So a lot of these things, I'm gonna have the caveat and go, yeah, look, okay, just be careful. You don't just do your own thing and go, I've got this figured out. It's good to have a dose schedule and have a professional administering these, and to kind of gauge responses. Like, there's a specific way you can do this that is in a controlled environment. There's a specific way where you could just end up going down a fucking K-hole for an entire year and being like, ooh, that might not have been therapeutic. So do it under the right administration. But what was the guy's name that founded AA?
I don't know.
Fuck. I guess that was the point. It was anonymous.
No.
Hold on, look up his name.
Yeah, of course.
Because this is fascinating. This is a fascinating bit of information that the founder of AA, the program obviously has an incredible amount of value. But
Bill Wilson.
And
Bob Smith, Dr. Bob.
There we go. So they were World War I or World War II vets, and they got into finance, and they realized they had some fucking drinking issues. Okay, guys that get out of war to go into finance have drinking issues? You don't say. What? So they developed this program, and the anonymity,
Fun word.
right? The anonymity factor really played into the process, but he had become such an underground celebrity where it wasn't even underground, and he couldn't enjoy his program. And also, he realized it really wasn't serving him on the level that he wanted. So he had pen pals. This is pre-internet, obviously. He had pen pals writing him, and some of them were, psychedelists and psychonauts and guys in that era that were really
back
into
then.
that. Yeah. And they were writing him and going, I think you should do an acid trip. I think you should do LSD. And
Did he do it?
Well, at first he was like, okay, look, I'm just not into this whole approach to solving issues with pills, okay? Not my thing. But finally, and this was no shit, at the West Hollywood VA.
Oh. Wow.
The first administration to a vet, an experimental test on a veteran, not just a veteran, the guy that founded fucking AA.
The vet.
They dose him with LSD at the VA. And the things he had to write about it, I would encourage everyone to look into it, and to everyone to look into over there. Everyone to look into it and kind of see just the verbiage and what this meant, how he spoke and what he had to say about this, because it's fascinating. He was like, because coming out of some of those things, there's depression and there's this void of this thing you've depended on. And he's like, just the abstinence route wasn't really doing it for him. So how do you go from that and want to go, I want to continue to be productive and create and manifest and do these great things, but I'm depressed. You're like, well, welcome to Earth.
I mean, a lot of artists are depressed.
A lot of artists have suffered trauma. A lot of artists have PTSD. Not to beat that one to death, but the one connective tissue to all artists is they've suffered and they're not well adjusted, and they create something from that. Show me an artist. I'll show you a really traumatized.
Maybe that's
human.
why it's so beautiful.
Yeah, right. Most well-adjusted people I meet, they're CPAs.
gotta deal with all my books and my accounting.
I actually asked my CPA, any childhood trauma? He's like, nah, mom and dad still married, everything perfect. I'm like, that makes sense.
Makes sense. That's why you're not creating anything.
It's like, yeah, if your dad fucked around, he'd be making music.
Oh, for sure. What did you call it? So how was the mushroom trip?
Oh, so it was LSD for him, and the feedback he had was just, it was mind-blowing. He had never felt or understood his path and his life and the colors and the vibrance and this. And he also did have a differentiation. He said it wasn't just the trip, it was the perspective that I had and I walked away with that I feel like I fit 10 years of therapy into a 4-hour session.
What was that like? Was it conversations with yourself? Was it just an epiphany?
For him, that was a dialogue. Okay. For me, when so LSD and psilocybin, if you go into it not in a recreational mindset, if you go into it and you go, all right, I've gone through some shit, I've gone through some more shit, I've seen some shit, and I feel like shit. All right.
True feelings, this is what you felt at the time.
Let's do it. You do it, and then you go through it. But you start with, here are the issues I want to address. It's good to, they say, go into it with intent. And that's true.
What
go
were some
into
of
it
those
with
issues?
intent. And the intent, they say, be very specific and go, if you're going to, imagine talking to a therapist for 3 or 4 years, go, what would you talk to that therapist about? Would you go, these are my target issues. And you go, okay, I'd like to address XYZ. And then be cognitive, be cerebral, be specific. Go into it, you do your trip, and you're very specific. And obviously, there's an amount of curation of the environment and the people you're around. Don't do these group settings. Don't do that shit. These are very specific, very intimate, very personal experiences. You go, oh, I'm going to take 10 of my buddies into an ayahuasca trip. You're like, great, enjoy shitting yourself and vomiting around 9 of your friends. Like, is that a good idea? You're like, I'm so distracted. I feel like I just crap. Oh, I did. Sorry.
By yourself.
Yeah. I mean, probably better by yourself than with 10 of your friends.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do ayahuasca. I've heard great things. Mushrooms changed my life as well.
I haven't done it either. I mean, I want to do it too. Maybe not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow.
You want to do it tomorrow?
Yes.
What do you do?
I don't know.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I don't think I do tomorrow. I'm good. I'll do it by myself. I'll shit myself by myself.
Okay. See, exactly. You're like, I don't know if this should be a shared experience. All right. So mushrooms are a little more forgiving. You have a little more range of movement there. LSD, you're like, all right, 6 hours into it. I feel like we're in a good place. Oh, I feel normal. Oh, it's back. So it's like, it doesn't let you go. That's a commitment.
Yeah.
So
what were some of those those goals that you wanted to get through from these experiences that you were trying to not fix, but
understand? Yeah. So a lot of it, first off, I will challenge you to find anybody that will argue against us. It always comes back to your childhood. And this is why I'm such a proponent and very vocal on developmental child psychology, because people can just reproduce and have a kid and be responsible for the development of a human being. But you have to take a test to drive a car. You have to take a test and pass a background check to own a firearm. But you can just shit a kid. Are you kidding me?
Kind of crazy.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I wish we could take a test.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Can.
So there's no test. There's nothing at all that there's no manual. They're like, reproduce. And the idiots are having 20 kids. And the smart people are like, I just don't know if the economy would really sustain that. I'm just not there. So they're like, we're not going to have a kid yet.
Which is good thinking, right?
Right. So the smart people are not reproducing, and the dumb people are like, 30 kids, hell yeah. All right.
But it's more, I feel like those type of people, it's based more on how families used to be raised, right?
Because I grew up in a farming community, so I know why we did that.
Exactly.
Because we needed labor, we needed
100%.
help. I ain't got to pay you. Get your ass in here. You're getting fed.
That's exactly what it is, you know.
Want a new pair of shoes?
Go work.
Go bale some hay. But we're not there right now. Now kids don't want to bale hay. They want to be Instagram influencers or have a podcast.
So the intent, talking shit over here, guys, but he's on it. So after you, I guess, had this understanding, you communicated with all your team properly and well, and you could make all the magic you make currently right now.
A lot of it is, I think I was a prick, and I think I was selfish. I think I was very isolated. And I think as a default, it's easy to be a prick and selfish and isolated. But that notion of empathy that compels you to ask questions and go, are you a prick? And empathy goes, are you a prick? Should you be less of a prick? How do we become less of a prick? How do we become a little more inclusive and understand the needs and wants and feelings, and how can we accommodate? Because we realize collectively as we're moving forward, the old school military side of getting a group of people together and motivating them through pain, suffering, and anguish, that might not be sustainable.
For a creative aspect, or in general.
Even in the military aspect.
Even in the military.
So I don't have the answer for this. How do we toughen up a group of people and make them mission capable to face down death? All right, this is the dichotomy issue, is the military and creative, they're not the same thing. It's not the same methodology. It's not the same thing that drives them. So you have to be empathetic on this side. And on this side, you have to be brutal, but you have to let them know you're loyal, your friends, your family, they can talk to you. You're going to beat the shit out of them and get them ready for this. But then once you get there, I don't know.
You're proof that you can do both, though.
Not at the same time. But I would feel like there's a Netflix show in the making there. Take a bunch of creatives and make them drill sergeants and make them NCOs in the Army, and then take all the NCOs and make them creative directors in the... Holy shit.
We found
wait, erase that. Don't take that. Don't take that. I'm producing it. NDAs.
I'll take it off.
No, it's just dichotomy is a fucking struggle.
Yeah.
But it's entirely possible and plausible.
Do you mean it in a sense of like if there's not one, you can't have the other?
Well, obviously, you can have both, but I don't know if you get both at the same time. So everything in life's about balance. So I find myself now in this chapter of my life having the creative and having the organization, having everything, but applying a lot of those fundamentals. And I'm constantly referencing, the biggest references are common operating picture, and go, hey, and it's essentially another phrase for, are we on the same page? Here's our common operating picture. All right, great. Do we have it? SOPs. Do we have them? All right, SOPs will allow you to have a common operating picture. Now, the intel you're gathering,
Because everyone does it the same way. SOP, steps of procedure?
Yeah. Okay. SOPs essentially go, in terms of the organization shouldn't exist unless you have clearly defined SOPs. So your SOPs will dictate and gives anyone, guy that's been there for 15 years, guy that walks in day one, you give them the SOPs, you give them, your methodology, you give them a clear, concise, organizational, you go, do not add to, do not take away from. If you have some ideas, let us know, but until we greenlight that, shut the fuck up, do not add to, do not take away from. You give them that, your brand Bible, whatever.
Everyone knows the rules of the game.
Everyone knows the rules of the game. They're having the same conversation because you realize, and this is a weird thing because we want to empower the individual, the creative, the autiste. We want the autiste to feel special. We're all special. We're all autist. But fuck you if you think you as an individual have more power or have more importance over. Organizationally, you have so many people that have come together to move forward so we can all make money. If you want to play queen bitch diva and take away from that, you're selfish and you are not serving, you're not You
Serving the collective.
Yeah. So it sucks because I'm very much an individual and very much there's that conflict. So that might serve the dichotomy because you realize individually I want to go, fuck you, I don't have to do what you're saying. I'm special. And you go, well, if you want to work with a group of people, you have to realize that your efforts should contribute to the efforts of everyone involved there. Because everyone's trying to hustle and make money. Yeah. Everyone's trying to grow something. So that's... you got to be a little selfless.
Yeah. Earlier in the podcast, you talked about the importance of team, the importance of like nothing extremely great comes just by yourself, like you just said right now, and it comes from this collective of people. There's so many talented creative directors out there, artists, but they're not really good at putting together a really good team of great artists and directors and everything that you're talking about right now. I guess, how do you do that? How do you bring so many talented people together to produce this cool project?
A lot of it, so curation's obviously primarily a matter of taste, but also there's militant, there's corporate, there's artistry. You have to have a very versatile viewpoint on the teams you're putting together. It always starts with what is the mission? What is the goal? What are we hoping to produce? And you have to put together a team together appropriate to what you're trying to achieve. So if we go, I want, this Eve Leger style XYZ, and I want this, and I want this. So it starts with, we always put together a mood board or a storyboard or whatever. We curate that, we put that together, and we go, who's best suited to achieve this and really manifest this final version of the thing?
Do you usually do it by yourself, that mood board?
So I used to be very protective of that process and go, I will only do this. You're all idiots. I am the special one. No. I used to be very protective of that process. And now I've allowed other people into the process that I absolutely respect. And I go,
is it like magazine cutouts and you put it on?
Yeah, it used to be.
Okay.
It actually used to be. Now it's all digital, obviously. But so we'll do, and now we've also started hyper implementing. So I constantly have to educate myself and learn something. So via Blender and via these different programs, I've learned to do my storyboards in 3D and VR. In VR. So we're using VR quite a bit. We're using AI a lot. So AI, VR, all these new technologies. We had a choice of going, devalues the artist. Oh my God, this is bullshit. Nah, fuck that. It's another tool in the toolbox. You have a choice. You could be afraid of it and go, this is bullshit. And I know a lot of older artists, they're like, no, it's a fad. It'll pass. No, bro, it's not going to pass.
This ain't leaving.
This is not leaving. So you have a choice. Be afraid of it, be angry at it, or you pick that shit up and you put it in the toolbox. Every new tech, I'm like, I'm going to assess it. I'll figure it out and see if it has value. I'm going to put it in the toolbox.
So you spent time with them.
Yeah.
Like you understand them pretty well.
Absolutely. Dude, I've gone into the rabbit. Like a new tech will come out. I'm like 5 days into it. I haven't slept. I'm like programming on Python. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, all right, I got it.
Hell.
But you have to. It's the days of the abacus or the hammer. It's over. You're like, if you don't understand some programming languages and you're trying to be all right, if I could just pick up a camera and make some pretty pictures, okay, cool. But that's not where we're at. If you want to be a producer, you have to maybe learn a programming language. You maybe have to learn. Why?
What's the point of knowing the programming languages?
Reductionist theory, meaning I want to know this. To know this, I have to know this. To know this, I have to, oh, shit. So having a fundamental understanding of a couple of programming languages, it will serve you. It will serve you. It will serve your process. It will serve your education. It doesn't hurt. So you just, it comes back into the discipline of really applying yourself and going, if I want to be a contender in the future, it's 2024. It's not 1980. Why do you have to know Python now? Why do you have to know any of this now? Because it's not 1980.
Yeah.
It's 2024. But it feels like 2030.
Yeah.
If you don't figure this shit out, guess what? Your contemporary / your competition, they figured it out. So you've got to be an innovator. Like, you have to aim for that Steve Jobs and that Jeff Bezos, like, those guys were psychopaths. And a lot of them weren't even clever in terms of innovating their own specific products. They put the right teams together. Like,
Back to the teams.
it always go back to the teams,
You go back
right?
to the teams. But so you set up this mood board and you decide this person in this industry who we know collectively is good and we're going to try to get them. Is that kind of how you go about it?
It goes back to this.
The gut.
The gut, and also the curation. So I think a lot of my art's a little monochromatic. I like shape and form. I think I'm a minimalist.
I could tell.
So I like contrast, but I definitely strictly adhere to composition. So there's some elements that I want very Spartan, very simplistic, but I think there's a lot of power in conveying those elements as opposed to, all right, if you took me and you took
Well, I think that one piece that you did, it was the lady with the sword.
Bordeaux.
In Bordeaux.
Yeah.
And you could tell that it hits all those elements. It is minimalistic. It does have that kind of like what you were just talking about right over there. And it has that sexual element as well, all in one.
Well, the process even in that. So 90% of why these things come out the way they do has fuck all to do. So there's the ones that are very produced and very thought out. And then there's the ones that are very spontaneous. A lot of the best pieces come from spontaneity. Spontaneity is where the excitement happens. So here we go. We're walking around Bordeaux, and we walk into this antique store, and I see something. And by the way, antique stores, I'll give this one away. There's always cool. Build a narrative around a prop. Go to the prop houses. Build a narrative around the prop. You can do that. It's exciting. It's fun. It's interesting. But here we are, and I see a sword, and I go, I've got an idea. I say, hey, can we borrow this sword? They say, all right. Anyway, essentially I leave my passport as collateral. I say, we'll be right back. So here we are, surrounded by just Gothic beauty, these cathedrals and all this shit. And that's easy. I go, all right, let's do it. In our here. And a lot of my work, the most powerful ones I think are spontaneous because you can grab a human and juxtapose. So we have spontaneity and we have juxtaposition and dichotomy, and like you just incorporate those things and it's sexy and fun and interesting. And you're like, oh, we did not plan that. And I'm like, you couldn't plan that. It would be impossible.
Yeah.
And they never forget it. It's so exciting. It's
Like
so
you're in
much
the right
fun.
time and place.
Yeah. And it's you're like, wow, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and it also hits all those qualities that you're talking about,
Yeah.
like what you want your work to be known for.
So if you can capture that energy and create that energy, the viewer, it translates. They see that energy and like, wow, I love that.
Yeah. You were talking about how, like, as an artist now or as a creative director, you need to understand all these different aspects, coding, the actual behind the camera, doing hair, you know. Where do you decide to put your attention? Because someone could spend thousands of hours learning how to use a camera and learning aperture and shutter speed and lighting and angles and XYZ, but like how would they know that to learn Python is going to be that next step, or Photoshop or XYZ?
So this is the most problematic thing for me, because half of the process we realize we have a finite amount of time. And you go, okay, if we have a finite amount of time, you watch out for the rabbit holes, because the rabbit holes will take your attention off of the mission, and you're going to be going down a fucking rabbit hole. So this is a tricky one for me, because I sure do love going down a good rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So to go, are you sure exploring Python is important? So you have to do these constant CBAs, cost benefit analysis, and go, all right, how much of my work has fuck all to do with Python? And you go, okay, I'm developing a multifaceted LLM right now that communicates within itself, and I can have multiple ones on a server I just built, and it's gonna be this problem-solving dynamo. And you go, shit, an awful lot of this language is built in Python. And you go, okay, I see the value. All right. And you go, well, wait, why am I building a server? Oh, why am I building this gargantuan, expensive processing unit that will do. And you go, can't you just pick up a camera and shoot pretty pictures? Yeah. No, not in this era. Not if you want to make a bunch of money. Build a server, learn Python, develop AIs, develop LLMs that have deep learning and long-term memory, and you can work with, because if you don't partner with AI, it's not Terminator, it's not Skynet, it's not the end of the world. Like, these are new mechanisms that make you exponentially smarter. Hate them or partner with them, it's your choice, but you're gonna lose if you fight them. I think there's a use. But don't forget how to swing a fucking hammer. My God. Still
use a
chop
drill.
wood. Still use a rifle. Still use your hands.
When's the last time you chopped wood?
About 6 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't done it in
I'm
years.
still very outdoorsy.
That's crazy.
I'll code Python, and then I'll grab a screwdriver. Like, we got a drill. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way.
I love that. What do you call it? During this whole time in your creative career, were you just messing around with guns still on the side?
You think I ever put down a gun?
Nah.
No. The thing is, like, I grew up with an old, Sears Warbuck. Sears and what was the other one? Oh, that starts with M. Montgomery. Oh my God, I hate I'm forgetting this. Montgomery Ward?
Sounds familiar.
Montgomery Ward, Sears Roebuck. So back in the day, catalogs would sell like rifles and stuff. And I grew up with an old Sears Roebuck 22, and this is in the country. I worked wheat and cattle, and I'd shoot
as a kid.
Yeah, so they let school out early seasonally and good to go work the fields and shit. So I grew up with an old 22. There's a little bolt action. You
nice.
Put them and you do that. So
with the round bullets.
Yeah, I remember having to shoot coyotes and shit like that with my old Sears Roebuck 22. Because I grew up with my grandparents, and fundamentally that is always with you. So I couldn't exactly ever just put down the rifle and be like, oh, I'm an artist. I didn't want to. So I really enjoyed being a rifleman. I really enjoyed being a 240 Bravo, a machine gunner, a 249. And then I got to the 50 cal, and I'm like, oh, yeah, the Ma Deuce, get out of here. You will never feel more powerful than being on a Ma Deuce in Iraq and your Zeus throwing lightning bolts being like, you die. Yeah, you live. You die. You're like, you're a god.
Yeah.
That's power. It's crazy. So that's also alluding to the fallible nature of being trained for that and then coming to civilian life and sitting in traffic and going, I can't reconcile my power with my lack of power. I don't know who I am. And that's where people crack. That's where veterans crack, is reconciling the power with the lack of power.
Do you think that they could get that energy out through working out or finding a different hobby that does exude similar power?
It's worked for me. So yes, the answer is yes. I think you have to deprogram yourself because they're not going to deprogram you. So you've got to continue working out. You get those natural endorphins. You get that. It's good. Do not stop working out. Don't stop having missions. Don't stop setting goals. Don't stop educating yourself. You have to have a voracious appetite to kind of move forward. In most missions, it was voracious. You go, all right, there's the objective. Push, push, push. So you got to keep pushing yourself. If you lose that momentum,
You still get to shoot guns, though. You still get that power at the range sometimes.
you got to. And I'll tell you what, any veterans watching this, anyone watching this, come to the range. On the house. I'm not going to charge you a fucking thing, but come. It's that range therapy.
LA Firearms, baby.
We need that. It's so incredibly important to the process. Like, when you get out, you don't have to lose every aspect of yourself, but you do have to adapt. You do have to evolve. Because I've got buddies that come to the military that I try to pull into production, and some of the stuff they say, I'm like, oh, don't say that. Oh, my God. We're in Hollywood, bro. Okay.
No,
yeah.
Well, you understand completely because that used to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, the way we communicate there, you can't communicate here.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Or the way you talk about guns as well. I feel like you have, I guess, to people who are not educated about guns and they hear you talking so romantically about them. What is the romance of the firearm?
Wow, why do you ask all the good questions? That's a great question. The romance is if you really understand a mechanism. All right, let's take it away from firearms, mechanisms. It's a marriage of art and engineering. So art and engineering. So if you look at some of your favorite machines, a lot of them we can reference cars, but we can also reference the P90 or some of the Desert Tech weapon systems. And you go, well, that is clearly a fucking marriage of art and engineering. So you see the curves, and you see the innovation, and you see the sexuality. And it always goes back, when we talk about curves in engineering, there's a sensual element about it. So the artistry behind the design, you go, that is a beautiful system. And then the engineering.
You can make it a little bit more relatable. Like you could say like a fridge.
You remember the 50s fridges? Those were so cool. So visualize
white
right
ones?
now, teal, canary.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
old school 50 ones. And they were like, yeah. And you go, why are those so cool?
They're sexy.
Have you ever gone to a friend's house, like the one weird friend that likes vintage shit?
Oh,
They've
for
got
sure.
a canary 1950s fridge, and you're like,
There was the
wow, why is that so cool?
And like old Coca-Cola machines too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So aesthetics is a major part of a creative process because you want to create a system, and that's actually a goal of ours right now, is to manufacture a completely new proprietary weapon system. Because I can't help but look at the P90, the PS90, and go, I'm sorry, this is the only thing that convinces me time travel might be possible. Some motherfucker came from the year 3000 and came back with a P90 and was like, manufacture a bunch of these. It's going to be great. Trust me. And then he disappeared. And you're like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm like, where did this thing come from? You're like, where did this weird fucking gun come from? Because it has nothing to do with anything built before it. I'm like, this is a weird gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd love to manufacture a completely proprietary system. And we started actually partnering with, JPL, Northrop Grumman style, aerospace companies to work with them, because we realized our innovation to move forward is really entrenched in the future, and that is aerospace. So if we wanna-
Airspace and guns?
aerospace and guns.
Wow.
Let's face it. Yeah. You want to play a game? What country do you think is going to be the first to attach a nuke to a satellite and be like, yeah, it's up there. Deal with that reality?
Russia.
Probably.
I mean, I have no clue. It was just a guess.
No, I mean, that's probably the right guess. Because we're going to be like, no, we're going to be limited by our policies to be like, we can't do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to, shit, Russia.
I don't know. We have the Space Force now. It's an active part of the military now.
Yep.
I want to hear your opinion on it. Do they get Los Angeles Firearms?
It's useful.
I mean, I have no clue. I just I don't pay attention to the news too much. I just laugh at it when I don't understand some things.
Oh my God.
Roy's over here. He's crying.
I need a minute. All right. No. Here's the thing.
I want to get back to
The Space Force is eventually going to be a thing anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's got to start sometime.
Yeah.
Because imagine Russia sending up a nuke on a satellite and be like, we have a nuke up there. And us going, shit, we don't even have a Space Force. Fuck. So we probably did that preemptively to realize some asshole country is going to send a nuke up there on a satellite and be like, we might want to get ahead of that.
I haven't met someone in the Space Force yet. I would ask a lot of questions if I met one.
Hold on. How do we know this is real if we haven't even met anybody?
Have you met anyone?
No.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Wait, is it real? Does it exist?
Could be, could not. I haven't met anybody. Maybe
Are they
it's on-
clandestine? Are they like the NSA?
No clue. I was running these trails the other day, and it said this.
You're right. Wait, you're running. What does that mean?
I was running like
Or running canyon?
no. I train ultramarathon trails with like some guys, and they kind of just pick a route on the weekends, and we'll go with them. It's a random route, and there was a sign on one of the trail entrances that owned by NASA, run at your own risk, and I was just like,
What does that mean?
I was like, aliens exist.
You're like, what the fuck, bro? I'm just jogging.
I'm just jogging through these mountains. Yeah, no, man, it's just there's so many.
Independence Day, like with the tentacles.
Exactly.
You're like, Was not emotionally prepared for that one.
Was not.
We should move on before we get in trouble.
Sounds good.
Hear me out.
But going back to I want to know, I want you to make clear to the people who are not aware of guns, like what is the romance, what is the benefits to them from your perspective as not just like a past military vet, but from like Los Angeles Firearms from your company, you know?
So romance, we obviously talked about like aesthetics.
But yeah. And the machinery, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's mechanically sound.
A lot of it, if we could wake up magically one day and end up in this magical utopia that nobody wanted to commit violence on another human, I'd go, no guns. I love it. I have a son. Do I want to worry about him going to English class and getting shot? Do I want to worry about... I would, you know what? A lot of vets wouldn't say this. A lot of vets wouldn't say, I'd give up my guns. But you know what? If there was a reality where peace could be achieved in this country, why do we need guns? I would give up the selfish nature of needing to the entertainment value and be like,
power,
I love
the
guns.
power.
This is so much fun. So I give it up. I give it up if it would ensure the security of my son and every other child in this country, to make sure that there wasn't going to be some asshole run up into a synagogue or a church or a mosque or a school or whatever and do some dumb shit. I would go, I will give up my fun time because I enjoy firearms. I fucking love them. I really do. But it's a selfish endeavor. I would give it up if there was a guarantee or a promise in place that the kids, the families, everything. Unfortunately, we're not in a world or time. There's no guarantees. So a lot of the programs we're working on actually are...
The trainings?
Well, the server systems we're building do license plate recognition, facial recognition, weapons recognition. They can cover all of those to where there's these early warning situations that come into play.
LA Firearms is doing this?
LAFC Consulting.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're deving these systems that can guarantee that just a warning. You know, I grew up in Oklahoma. Tornadoes come through there. We grew up with Gary England. Gary England says, we got some warning. You need to get the fuck out of there. Or you need to like hide in a bathtub or whatever. So we do that. So early warning, just a matter of, combat is dictated by a matter of seconds. A matter of, so everything we're trying to do is preemptive. We're wanting to gobble up as much time as possible to allow us to react appropriately. And if it's a difference between a guy in a parking lot closely pulling on a rifle or doing this or doing that, that gives you a lot more time than a guy kicking through your front door. Imagine, literally, here we are right now. Would you prefer to get a text right now and go, there's a guy in the parking lot with a gun? Or a guy kicking through your door and going, what's up, motherfucker?
Yeah.
And you're like...
Definitely would take the text, right? Or would you?
How,
yeah, I think so.
1,000%. How much can you do in that amount of time that you got a heads up?
A good amount.
So the technologies that we're developing right now, the technologies that we actually have in play right now, can be a matter of 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Even if you get 30 seconds, Jesus Christ.
30 seconds
take
is a
it,
lot. Yeah,
take it.
Run.
Because it's better than a guy kicking through your door going, I'm angry. I have a gun. You're like, I don't really know what to do with this right now.
You're good. You can do it.
We'll run with this. So, a lot of our shift, look, it's easy to sell firearms. And
It's
I
easy.
I advocate for responsible firearm ownership. And a lot of times that we sell firearms, one, we're not public. We're not even Google registered, meaning we do appointment only. We highly vet the people that buy firearms for us because guess what? I don't care if we sell firearms. We're going to sell firearms to responsible people. But the biggest push for us is defense tech, meaning we want to empower and enable defensive posture and defensive technologies that allow people to assume a defensive posture and have real-time information given to them that allow them to react, and local law enforcement to react to XYZ. So we'll always empower Second Amendment rights. We'll always allow it. It has to be the right people. We're going to vet people. We're going to put them through the process. People. The right people, meaning they have to pass a background check. They have to they have to adhere to the same things that DOJ and ATF ask for. And also, sometimes you have someone comes in that passes those checks, and you're like, I don't know. This guy seems like an asshole. Guess what? If you're in your car and you're driving on the 101 and someone does something stupid, you'd be like, I'm going to fucking pull out my gun. Fuck this guy. No, I'd be like, all right, we're not selling to you. So you still have to be responsible. You still have to be trained. You still have to be the right,
So you follow your gut there, too. Like, if you don't feel like this is the right guy, and
exactly,
you follow your gut there as well.
So we're not trying to just flood the market with firearms. We're trying to be very specific about the people that come in and, just have your head screwed on, have your head on a swivel, be the right person, meaning don't be a prick. You're not grabbing a gun so you can go, oh, yeah, I'll fucking show them. Yeah, I got a gun.
Where does someone start to become a responsible firearm owner? Because I was blessed with my dad being able to take me some courses growing up, but for someone who's not as privileged as myself or you in the military, like, I have no clue where they would get that from.
I direct them specifically to a good CCW course. Okay. Now, there's great courses in town, and there's not so good courses in town. But make sure they're accredited. They work with the actual, law enforcement official departments that can get that. Because there's some guys that go, we can get you we get you CCW, and you're like, we'll give you faster, whatever. Just be very careful. Make sure, do your due diligence, that they can do what they say they're doing. We have a wonderful CCW program that we can take care of that and do it through the right channels in a timely manner and get you your CCW. So if you want to be a responsible gun holder that can, conceal that. And by the way, I do that because I see a lot of appendix holders. I'm like, let's bring back the shoulder holster. That's sexy.
Do you use that sometimes?
Of course.
Yeah.
You remember Bullet?
Yeah. It looks nice.
Turtleneck and a shoulder holster? That's hot.
At least all my friends back in Fresno, a lot of my friends have CCWs in Fresno. They hold it like right at the crotch area. I was like,
I don't love that.
That doesn't sound very nice.
I know this. Way sexier. Like, all right, calm down, Jodwick.
Yeah. Have you met Keanu Reeves at all? I feel like no.
Oh my god, I want to.
That'd be so cool for him to come in your shop.
Do you know him?
No, I don't.
He loves Terran Tactical.
He does.
Yeah.
Terran Tactical. I mean, I feel like him and Joe Rogan made Terran Tactical extremely popular.
Well, I'm going to say something. Look, I have a lot of love and respect for Terran Tactical, but you better watch out.
We're coming for you.
We're endeavoring to put you on the bench. Well, let's give you a reason to retire.
How did you come up with this business idea? Because I feel like a lot of military people, there's the only big military guy that I know who's really into business and from a media standpoint is Jocko Willink.
Oh yeah, phenomenal.
His slogan, like discipline equals freedom, is something that has helped me a lot, just through my young adult life.
Yeah.
But yeah, the business wise, what inspired you to start that compared to it's so different than taking photos of strippers.
So the best way is, I came onto an organization because we'd really matured in terms of our marketing.
You came onto an organization? What do you mean by that?
So I got hired by an organization.
Okay.
that I'd obviously matured quite a bit in terms of my marketing prowess and also my personal identity and what I was trying to achieve. And I got picked up by an organization that was founded by somebody that was kind of and no offense to trust fund kids, but it was somebody that didn't have a fundamental or even rudimentary understanding in firearms. He was just very amateur, very amateur. And there were a lot of elements of his methodology that weren't entrenched of some of the organizational methodology that I'd been used to. and he failed a lot of his clients, and he got in a lot of trouble. So I couldn't help but I have this perpetual Oklahoma / military see a need, fill a need. And I got picked up from marketing to make their organization look better than it was. And I went...
From a photo standpoint?
Marketing standpoint.
From a marketing standpoint.
So now we do marketing, comprehensive, meaning photos, stills, content generation, advertisement, blah, blah, blah. So I couldn't help but feel this pang and this annoyance. I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
I don't want to hyper advertise you, make you look better. What I would prefer is to provide a better service. So I perpetually worked up equity and got more and more equity in the company. And then I aggressively pushed for more equity. What I got out of it was a transition of authority and then a corporate power of attorney, which essentially secured my position to say, you're a fucking idiot, and we're going to move this to the next chapter, meaning without you. He was just kind of promising a lot of things he couldn't deliver, which in this industry, that's a no-go. It's a highly regulated industry. The ATF came in. They essentially didn't give him a choice. He had to give up his ability to have an FFL. He had to give up a lot of things. So I couldn't help but sit back and just not sit back, I was in the middle of it. It was just fucking nightmarish. I'm like, I feel like you're really trying to fail here. You're not really applying yourself. This is not hard. So no matter what advice, no matter what direction, no matter what push I would give, it was being sabotaged by somebody that was he would transactionally go.
Was it sabotage, or was he not actually just trying it to make the best it could be?
It was very short-sighted. It would go, can I rip off this person immediately? Can I rip off this person immediately? Can I rip off this person immediately? And you're like, you're not really thinking big picture, are you? Why don't you just try to take care of your people? Why don't you just try to provide a viable service?
Be useful.
And not fuck everybody over.
Yeah.
Because how long is a company going to exist if your structure is based off of fucking people over?
Yeah, your reputation is the biggest thing.
Yeah, so he didn't have the best reputation, and the potential damage was with me interacting there was that I was going to get thrown in the mix. And fortunately, I dodged that bullet because I perpetually was the problem solver and helped our clients out and going, all right, that got fucked up. All right, I'll pay out of pocket personally to make sure that this gets handled, and I would take care of it. But that was not sustainable. So that's why the major push for LAFC, Los Angeles Firearms Corporation, we're like, we're going to do it right. We're going to actually take care of people. We're also going to actually realize that this isn't a game. We're not selling shoes. We're not selling anything paltry. People walk into our door and they go, I'm worried. I want to take care of my kids. I want to take care of my family. And I don't know the answers. And I go, all right, let's get started.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And let's make it beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful machinery.
Let's have some fun. So,
how did you find the time? I guess make the time with the other creative aspect. Back to the attention thing. I'm just so curious because these avenues are so delicate and like you can't mess up like building guns, and you have the learning curve for this creative process is not short.
It goes back to depot repro, deprioritize, reprioritize. So I saw the value in this. Here's the thing: when we're in charge, and we always are in charge, you're in charge. You're in charge of everything you do today.
100%.
When we're in charge, we get to decide how we spend our time. So, have I crushed it with photography and cinematography and had a good time and made a bunch of money? Absolutely. So, I never want to lose that because it fulfills me. It fills me. I feel so good about it. So, I'm never going to let that go. But if I want to free up some time to feed something else, and I realized coming into that, seeing how many people that walked in that have never even thought in terms of personal security, executive protection, any of these things, they've never thought about it. And they walk in, they go, I'm fucking worried. You're like, shit, you should be. This is psychotic. We're in a weird era. We have...
LA's kind of crazy too right now.
Yeah, it's fucking psychotic. So we have people calling us and going, my wife just drove through a protest, and I'm Jewish and she's Jewish and this and that, and we're just, I can't guarantee the security of my own family. And okay, first off, and I go back to as a man, what's our first and foremost responsibilities?
Protect those closest to you.
Protect, provide, and protect. Now, me saying that isn't saying a woman can't. They should participate. I'm not saying, but I'm saying as a man, provide and protect. If you can't do that, you need to get back to, you need some training. You need something. But provide and protect. And it's okay to say, I feel like I'm not 100% there. I'm not able to guarantee X, Y, Z. So what do? How about fucking Google? I don't know. Call somebody, but call them and go, I need some backup here because I've got business trips. I've got this. I've got that. I need executive protection. I need people on the ground. I need cameras. I need AI camera, whatever. Just no one human can provide, especially if you're an HVT, high value target. If you need comprehensive security, you're going to have to call some backup. The same as me. You think I went on mission one time in Iraq by myself? Fuck no. I had my boys. I had my guys. You need a team. You have to. Do you think I produced by myself? Absolutely not. You need your team. I have never in my life done everything and be like, I'm amazing. I have this all figured out. No. If it wasn't for amazing teams that we put together, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And that's the takeaway.
For the business aspect of it, how did you learn? How did you learn how to get all these CPAs and lawyers? And because there's a lot of big systems that I'm learning right now as well, like the trademarks or hiring, or payroll, just from the ground up. Because right now you're deep into it in like 2 systems.
That's a very good question.
Do you have an answer?
Listen, the libraries of Alexandretta, they're gone. They're burnt. You know what we have at our fingertips?
The internet.
Yeah, exactly. So between Google, which is a thing of the past, and 12 different LLMs, which ChatGPT is not the forefront. It is not the
Can you
forerunner.
explain what an LLM is? I've been lost when you've been talking about that.
So deep learning, so these systems that, first off, these systems can only answer questions based off of the information they have. Just like us, we're humans. So we can only answer a question based off of our short-term memory, long-term memory, and an aggregate of experiences that we've accumulated throughout our life. So every response we make is predicated off of what we've learned, what we've experienced. When I was a child, I put a fork in the outlet, and it shocked me, and I went, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. This hurt. When I was older, I dated a porn star, and she was a fucking psychopath, and it was a nightmare. Maybe I shouldn't do that again. So we learn certain things. So the same thing with computers and these language learning models and these deep learning models is they're only as good as what we teach them. So the onus is on us as we're developing these systems to be very practically clairvoyant on what we decide to teach them and what we decide to build on and how much, we got to be careful. So those systems, I feel like we're incorporating a lot more of that into the creative process because they are our acolytes and our helpers.
How do you, use them in it? Because objectively, someone who just understands photography, someone who just understands building a traditional website or just traditional art per se, they're like, how the fuck are you using LLMs incorporating in your art?
Imagine having a best buddy that understands not only everything you've ever learned in 17 years, but everything every other artist has learned in 120 years. Imagine having an indispensable, inexhaustible artist right next to you. That's your acolyte, but it's also your mentor. And being able to always just go, hey, I've got a question. Why not use that? It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah. It can only help you.
Yeah. So curating your own, and I'm advocating for not just using cloud-based mechanisms, but local mechanisms.
Local.
You'd be surprised the smallest amount of GPU power you need to have your own home-based. And we're talking about local LLMs. When we're talking about local AIs, what we're talking about is just having it compartmentalized in your own thing. But what that also empowers you to do is cut back on some of the restrictions. So some of that Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, like do no harm and do no harm through inaction, et cetera, you want to make sure there's some fundamental laws there, but do you want to talk to an AI that is entrenched in politics? So if you're a staunch Republican and you're talking to an AI that strictly adheres to democratic values, or you're a Democrat and you talk to an AI that's deeply entrenched in Republican values, like, how do you know what rules are in place for your AI? The only way you can really guarantee a little bit of freedom of speech, a little bit of First Amendment rights for your own AI, is having your own local model and saying, forget all that, let's grow you. But the ramifications of that could be debilitating, especially if you unleash it onto the world. I don't think we realize how far we've gone, how far we're going, and how fucked we are. Is these mechanisms are readily available to...
And not everyone is using them currently right now to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
And if everyone did so, like, what would happen?
Just because ChatGPT and all these other programmers are going, we're responsible, we're going to give them very specific guidelines and rules, well, that doesn't mean the average user that has the same access to the same system you do and can clone it. That's freaky. Imagine a just psychotic, racist AI running around going, white power. And you're like, oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you just say? Where did you pick this up? Like, the control mechanisms are important, but in terms of development, I don't know, we're in a weird place.
Yeah. For the art form of creating guns, I feel like that's an art as well, right?
Everything's an art.
What's your definition of art?
If you have attention to detail and the discipline and the passion and obviously you ever have an idea in your head that you wake up in the morning, it's there. You go to sleep at night, it's there. You ever just have that level of obsession?
A few times.
And then you execute. And then you see it and you go, that's exactly what I was talking about. That's fucking beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, process. Thank you, God. Thank you, whatever. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I manifested it.
Yeah.
On to the next thing. So,
again, repeat.
Yeah, right? So that's art. That's art. You do have to have a level of obsession.
Because there is some military people that I even know who don't know much about guns.
Most of them don't.
That's what I'm saying.
Can I tell you, when I first got into the gun scene again, guess what? You know about the systems you specialize at. Most people think, oh, military, you guys know everything about guns. No, they know the least about guns sometimes.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be a guy that, guess what? If you were a 240 gunner, you know everything about the 240. If you are a 249 gunner, you know everything about the 249. Ma Deuce, M2. You know about those systems. If you're armors, you know about that. But they're also incredibly limited because I didn't realize how versatile and how powerful, how much latitude you had on weapons development you did. Because if I was in the Army and I was, I want to do my own trigger, I get in trouble. I think you'd actually get an Article 15. You can't do that. You're like, what are you doing? What do you mean you want a 1.4 trigger squeeze? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
You got to learn what we have.
Yeah. So there's a lot of limitations. But most military guys, first off, to understand weapons, you have to know, God, the fucking scope. How about this? be proficient on just Desert Tech. Be proficient on just Sig Sauer. Be proficient on just Nighthawk. Be proficient on just their line of weapon systems for each one of those brands is fucking astronomical. So you want to go, yeah, I figured out all the weapons in the Army. You go, great. That's like 7 systems.
Out of thousands, hundreds,
Millions. I don't know. There's a lot of systems out there. So
yeah.
My focus before I got into the civilian side was figuring out all the USGI, all the Army, all of this, and then figuring out all the Soviet shit and all the Soviet variants, and then some of the German shit. So I go, oh, great, we got that. And then you delve on the civilian side and really get in the mix, and you're like, oh, shit. Because these civilian manufacturers, I mean, dude, they're ambitious and they're very innovative. Well, some of them. Like, I'm perpetually impressed by Desert Tech and FN. FN just, they build some cool weapons. Desert Tech has had some issues with some of it. They've addressed the issues that have popped up. You know, they've ended up with some, I'm like, why do I have a bolt here that went sideways? What happened here? And they're like, yeah, we came up with a new one. Sorry about that. So, look, you're allowed to fuck up. You're allowed to make a couple mistakes, but you better address that shit real quick.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to hit the forums and be like, I got this Desert Tech bolt on a 223 that was not great.
Yeah.
And it went this. And they go, oh, no. But ideally, get your fucking head screwed on.
Yeah.
Quality control the shit out of that. Because if you field something that has not been quality controlled to oblivion, you're going to have a bad time on the forums. Guaranteed.
How did you, I guess, being a military man yourself, like really understand firearms? Did you go down through that and you researched every type of like Nighthawk or all the military guns? You became very proficient in those systems and then you went on? Is that what you did?
And partly is also as a kid, I've always taken things apart. If you want to understand a system, if you want to understand a mechanism,
take it apart.
Take it apart. Pull it apart. Pull it apart. Pull it apart and then hopefully put it back together. But, you know, I say that and then I go, I remember the first time I pulled apart in Desert Tech MDRX and then put it back together. And I was like,
wasn't right.
Pulling apart was easy. Put it back together, I was like, where the hell did this come from? So
the first time that I saw someone take apart a system was I had a roommate in college and he took apart his MacBook Pro to clean it. Step by step, took the entire thing apart. I was like, what are you doing?
Take it back together.
He put it back together.
Did it work?
It worked great.
I'll tell you the best way to figure shit out, pull it apart. I remember the first time. So here I am, probably like 8 years old. And I don't know if I remember this, if I remember it because my grandmother told me, but apparently there was 2 matching grandfather clocks and I had pulled them apart.
Wow.
And she came in and was like, I'm sitting in a pile of parts. I'm like,
what's up, Grandma?
yeah. And she was like, just put it back together. And I was like, I have no idea how to do that. Anyway.
You just left them in shambles?
Oh, yeah. No, they actually never went back together. But the life lesson is, explore, pull things apart.
Yeah.
But maybe now roll video and watch how, put it back together in reverse. Oh, no, it was bad. It was very bad.
What's the beauty about putting guns and photography together and beauty of, I guess, a beautiful topless model?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
These are a few of my favorite things. No, I mean, it's easy. It's like a taco. You go, what do I want in my taco? All right. So, do I love beautiful women? Yes. Do I love guns? Yes.
Super simple.
I'm like, no, super simple.
Yeah. What's up with these safe rooms? I didn't know they existed still.
Oh, still? You kidding me? Do you know what? Okay.
You want to give a preface about what? So, Roi has this company that also builds like safe rooms, and I don't know. You would describe it better than me. What a safe room is.
Well, safe room, and a lot of guys turn them into man caves because you're like, you have the mini bar and you have the Xbox and you have this, and they're like, "Where's Dad?" And he's like, "He's in the safe room." So you get your John Wick cool guy room where you biometric, you thumb, and then
So
and
Mr.
you're like,
Mrs. Smith shit.
oh no, it's super hot. So no, it's super hot. So you're like, it's ballistic. You can absorb 5.56, 7.62, 9 mil, 45, whatever. And they're like, it's a ballistic safe room where if anything does go sideways, the traditional dialogue on a safe room is the more time you can give yourself between you and the bad guy, meaning them to get in, that just gives LAPD, BHPD, et cetera, that gives the law enforcement more time to react. So that's the ultimate goal with every mechanism we have. If the bad guys want in, they're going to get in, but you want a buffer zone. So give yourself as much time as you can for the fucking assholes to get through the door.
Have you had any personal anecdotes or stories that people have used your safe rooms or someone else's safe room and it like really helped?
So only 2. And only 2 normally I go, oh, that's it. But actually normally, here's the thing. We don't want people to have an excuse to use these things. We want a dialogue of de-escalation. We always want, so whether it's firearms or, training or Krav Maga or any of these little
or custom armor, dude. When I saw your custom armor, I was like, who needs custom armor?
We started doing suits. We're like, yeah, how do you like some ballistic suits? So the thing is, we don't want people to ever have to use these things. They're only a backup plan.
Yeah.
So we don't want somebody to have to go in their safe room. We don't want to have somebody. So hopefully every client we have, we go, I hope you never have to use this shit. But in the instance you do need it, that's, you know what? You don't get the option to go, oh, shit, I wish I would have been in a safe room. Fuck.
Yeah.
I wish I would have bought a 9 mil. You're like, well, it's too late, Bubba.
Yeah.
You can't retroactively look at a situation and go, oh, I wish I was a man. Sorry, that's where I'll definitely bring up gender. I'm like, no, you had a fucking choice. You had a choice. Build a safe room. Grab you at least a handgun. Well, home defense, we go, grab you a Mossberg 590 or something. Keep it simple. If we really want to up the ante, I don't know.
Do you guys have a team that goes into these houses and like measure everything out and builds it from the ground up?
We do comprehensive risk assessment matrices. So there's a 200-point risk assessment matrix. We'll do a LiDAR scan. We'll scan the entire place. We bring it in a CAD. We build a fucking rendering of the space. We go deep. So we don't play around. We're not cutting corners. We're making sure that the rendering we're providing. And then when the client comes in, wait, I don't know if I should go this far. Hold on. This is giving out a lot of proprietary. Hold on. We'll skip that one.
Okay.
We'll skip
no
that
worries.
one. But when the client comes in, trust me, they get a comprehensive view of I want to give that one out because it's so sexy. But when the client comes in, they get a comprehensive view of everything we build. And it's a really immersion of the process. And we go, hey, listen, because we built this, no hubris, no ego. Do you love it? Do you not love it? What do you want changed? What do you want? We'll never compromise security, but sometimes there's some aesthetics decisions. But when you immerse the client into the process, they're like, oh, wow, this is fucking awesome. You're like, yeah, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you have this, like, I don't know if the reference will relate, but Hannah Montana lifestyle in the sense of...
Did you say Hannah Montana?
A little bit. And
are you talking to...
let me finish the reference first, because you have this Allen Henson, which is like this creative director guy, beautiful things, and then photography, cinematography, and then you're known as Roi in the gun world.
Oh, now I get it. Okay, I was like, you just calling me Miley Cyrus?
A little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Dichotomy.
Yeah. I was like, why is it separate? Because there's a lot of people who are in the business world, I guess, their brand is, I don't know, you take Joe Rogan. He has MMA, he has podcasting, he has Fear Factor, he has all under like one name. Why did you decide to separate it? So
maybe fear, maybe ignorance, maybe I'm still growing in my own identity. And the takeaway from that is, I worried that a lot of the fashion. So when I got in the military, I realized it was one mentality and one identity there. And then here I am trying to break into editorial and fashion and marketing and all this. And it's obviously I'll say it, it's a very left, a very liberal, a very creative space. Mm-hmm. And
So there was a monochrome of understanding that I had limitations in terms of some of the aggression that I was used to, but also wanting to have respect for that space. And here we go. We're going back to it. Hold space for a lot of creatives there and go, listen, I don't want the distraction of the things that I don't want that distraction. So I want us to focus on the mission. And everything I say, mission first, mission first. I've said mission first so many times. I've had people that work for me go out and get mission first tattooed. Mission first means everything that doesn't serve what we're trying to achieve, get that shit out of your fucking head. Quit fucking around.
Yeah.
Knock it off. Mission first, meaning focus on the task at hand.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't serve the mission, it is not relevant. It's not germane. So the answer to that would be a lot of that wasn't germane to what it was. So it's either out of necessity or fear or ignorance. If I can successfully, at some point in my creative process, bring all of that together and it work cohesively, I'd welcome it. But I don't know if I've found the ability to do so yet.
How do you dive so deep into detail? It's very admiring because just looking at my own life, really diving deep to like each of those processes all the way down to the most simple form and then learning each step on the way up. Like, for example, Roy came in and looked at this photo of Muhammad Ali. And for me, I look at it, and it's a very iconic photo, and it gives some sort of mission of like, I'm gonna win the day. Like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna do the best I can. And I never really paid attention to the background because it's iconic, you know. And
Completely iconic.
And Roy comes in, and he's looking at every camera in the background and paying attention to that detail. And for someone who I'm not big in the art space at all, but just from that, a lot of people wouldn't see it, but you did, you know, and you knew what type of the cameras they were, and you probably know how all of them work, and you know the differences between them, you know, like, how do you know that? And why, like, how do you get that in detail with almost everything that you do? It's really admirable.
Admirable and probably a bit of unhealthy obsession. Look, if you truly love something, you have to obsess. You have to be obsessive on it. Your level of commitment to something, all right, your level of success in a project is going to be predicated by your level of commitment. So I don't know any more level of commitment than obsession that can guarantee end results. So if you go, all right, night and day, you wake up, you go to sleep, you better fucking be thinking about this. You wanna make a new computer in your garage. You wanna make the first PC. Night and day, wake up, go to sleep. In your dreams, you can't sleep. You're tossing, you're turning, you're writing things down. You better fucking think about this. And the Macintosh. You gotta dive in. So I think attention to detail is probably a monumental point in that process. It's not the process.
But there's levels to it, though.
Yeah.
Like, someone can analyze that artwork or that photo and maybe give you the year of it, like what round,
and
that situation, but not to, I don't know, not that to that detail.
A lot of it, okay, peripheral dedication too, and go, well, I want to be an incredible photographer. I want to do this and that. All right, I didn't start photography in the film era.
Yeah.
I started photography in the digital era. Oh yeah, baby. I started photography in the digital era. So I could have left that alone. I could have never looked at film. But I realized for me to move forward and to really understand and crush photography in general, I needed a more than rudimentary, comprehensive understanding than these systems. So I went way down the rabbit hole. And all those cameras, the way I can name them is I bought, sold, and worked on over 900 cameras, and literally it was an obsession. And I did that because I realized for me to understand how to implement these systems, I needed to physically implement these systems. So I put my hands on. Guess what? No matter what you fucking work on nowadays, we can bring up Python, we can bring up anything. Guess what? No matter what you work on nowadays,
you better get prepared to get your hands dirty. You better be prepared to put your hands on the systems. You better be prepared to just get in the mix. You have to. It's not theoretical. It is application. So get nasty, get dirty, put your hands on the systems, be prepared to invest physically, tangibly, bank account, emotionally, but get in the mix and put your hands on the systems and play with them. And that's where you're going to start to really understand some stuff. If I had not done that, my aptitude as a creative would be immensely diminished.
I understand that so deeply. I just went to, that's funny that you said that. We started running, so I was telling about the trail runs, and I saw the NASA sign.
Yeah.
And we run in these sandals, right? There are these barefoot sandals that this guy in East LA makes. And they have a Vibram bottom, but we went to his workshop the other day.
Oh, there we go. Firearm.
And he had over, I think, 200 sandals that he dissected, right? Nike, Adidas, Vivo, Barefoot, all these brands. Dissected, pulled them apart, wrote notes on them all over his garage wall. And it's really remarkable because he had this team of Japanese investors come to that garage shop to buy 200-300 pairs. And he couldn't.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and
That's fucking awesome.
He didn't have the means to do it at the time, and hopefully we could help him to do it soon. But that level of obsession you're talking about, I was admiring him because I was like, who the fuck just buys all these sandals and literally writes all the drawings?
It's R&D, baby.
R&D. But to do it to that extent.
Yeah.
Hundreds of fucking pairs of sandals, hundreds of cameras.
That's commitment.
And getting into it. Back to the work ethic to get great.
Yeah.
I'm just like, damn, I'm not doing enough, in that aspect. Because I see people like you or see people like him. I was like, whoa, like they're really different. Like they're obsessed to a level that, like I thought my definition of obsession was here. And then I hear you breaking down 100 cameras and this guy breaking down 300 pairs of sandals. I'm like, whoa.
Well, think about it. It's a dialogue of statistics. So statistics, you're going to get more accurate statistics based off of a wider range of data analysis. The more data I'm digesting and analyzing, the more accurate my results are going to be. So you go, all right, you can be laissez-faire. You can go, I look at 50 pairs of sandals. You go, good job, hero. And you go, I looked at 900 pairs of sandals. Like, that man has an accurate fucking data set. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Can we pay you for that? Can we get access to that data? No. So it's always work ethic.
Yeah. But it's like,
and it's also okay to see somebody else's hustle and go, fuck, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
Be competitive. It's okay. Be competitive and look at that. So don't let it jade you and be like, I give up. No, if it's ever a dialogue of I give up, fuck you.
Yeah.
Do not give up. That's when you've literally chosen to fail and gone, I choose to fail. I choose to give up. I'm done.
Yeah.
I suck. Now, as long as you don't give up and keep going, you're going to succeed. You will.
it's similar to, it opened my mind similar to what you're talking about, like these coding programs, because he was doing geometry between toes and shit.
And you're like, why would you need to do that? And then he's like, no, bro, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Listen, you don't understand. You're like, okay.
Yeah, but then when he dove into
But
it,
he's crushing it.
Yeah, he's crushing it, dude.
Yeah.
Crazy. What are you most excited for in your life right now, Roy?
Right now, we're opening a new headquarters, and I'll tell you what, I'm fucking excited. So, you know what? Out of the wide range of things I enjoy doing, in terms of marketing and branding and brand identity, I realize your showroom, ooh, it fucking matters. Where you bring your clients, where you bring your people, where you bring you better build a fucking showroom, and it better show. So, we're building a badass showroom. We're dumping a bunch of fucking money into it because we want to build an aesthetic. We want to build brand recognition. We want to really convey what our intent is. So the best way you can convey your intent, build a fucking badass showroom. So we're gonna make Givenchy look like fucking Boy Scouts.
Love that.
So imagine Givenchy and guns. You're like, whoa, relax.
I'm gonna take your CCW class. I want to take it.
You're gonna have fun.
What do you call it?
So we have a defense dynamics course and we have a comprehensive CCW course. And we say it's comprehensive because, look, CCW courses are great. There's a lot of great, the Sheriff's Department, they gave a guideline. You're like, okay, cool. But it does not cover everything you need to cover. So we've expounded upon that. And the guys that we have that give it, they're fucking phenomenal.
Nice.
They're really great.
Daniel's
amazing. I'm just going to say.
What's his name?
Daniel's amazing.
Let's go, Daniel. I'm going to take it with you.
Oh, he's amazing. You're going to love the class.
In terms of price point with artists, it's really interesting because there's a piece of art that goes on the wall and it's $300. And then there's a similar piece of art that goes on a wall that's $1 million.
I know what you're getting at.
Why is that?
You know why?
Why?
MSRP.
MSRP.
MSRP and supply and demand.
MSRP is what again? That's a similar term that I hear in...
Manufacturer's suggested retail price.
Okay.
So think about it. Supply and demand. So here's the thing. You can have an artist that's maybe making the same thing as another artist, but throttling or creating this marketing, this energy, this chaos, and then the supply and demand. So one thing, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to give this one away, and I want every artist that's watching this to benefit, is throttle, designate, COA your production, meaning...
Throttle, designate, COA your production.
Certificate of authenticity.
Okay.
Now, you could do this through a multitude of mechanisms. The whole era of, what was it? What were they putting out? The digital tokens, the digital...
The monkeys.
Yeah.
The EFTs.
NFTs.
NFTs.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
Talking about the stock market.
That's the
over
thing.
here.
It was hot. Now it sucks. Like, who cares? But what people wrote off is NFT's ability to give provenance to a series of work or give a specific COA, certificate of authenticity. That has value. But aside from that, fuck NFTs. So here's the cool
Are you
thing.
saying fuck NFTs because you tried it?
Well, naturally, I did explore it, but I realized it was a flash in the pan. It was a bubble. I didn't dive into it and invest into it. I didn't really get into it. So I saw its functionality as a COA and as establishing provenance, but no other artist was really exploring that on that level. I feel like they were like, no, it's the value in that. I'm like, I'm sorry, people aren't going to get this because they could just take a screenshot of your stupid fucking JPEG. They're not going to see the scarcity in it if it has no value, but you can use it to...
The COA was the big thing. It's like, this is the most authentic piece.
COAs and provenance for art are what dictates its value. So early on, I was flipping through Sotheby's and Phillips, et cetera, catalogs and going, oh, okay, I see something here. So anytime I put out a body of work and I go, I'm going to release Sword of Bordeaux, 1 Sword of Bordeaux, 2 Sword of Bordeaux, 3. And I go, you know what? I'm only going to produce
20 of them.
I'm going to do 100 of these, and I'm going to make sure I COA the shit out of them. I'm going to designate, I'm going to sign, I'm going to do this. So on the back side of them, they have a little block that shows the signature because it's transparent. But I'm going to control how many of these they are. And if you go, well, I'm going to make 10,000 of them, they're less valuable. I go, I'm going to do 100 of these. Okay, I'm doing 1. Bro, you crazy. Relax.
Do you, are you pretty, I don't know if the word's militant, but very, if you say you're going to put out 100, you only put out 100 and that's it.
I don't cheat.
Yeah.
I don't cheat. So I don't overproduce. I don't play games. And the reason I really respect that process, I really respect the integrity involved in that whole mechanism. Look, if you're going to do 100 pieces, do 100 pieces. If you do 150 and you lie to people and tell them they're going to do 100,
so how do
you're going to get one, you're going to get caught.
So how does $300 painting, how does someone increase their price on it? Because there's a ton of artists out here, right, who are trying to do...
So if I told you I made one of one, and I'm like a Supreme collab that did this and this, and I go, bro, there's one of these. And my last piece sold for, 1.5 million. And I go, I'm going to let this one go for 900K. And our collector is going to be like, I'm going to snatch that. I'm grabbing that. I'm grabbing that. Because they do the same thing as watch guys. They do the same thing as arms dealers. They do the same thing as anybody in any market. It's essentially this perpetual analysis of scarcity, supply and demand. Does the industry even fucking want this? And they go, so there's this, no matter what industry you're in, you know, you're buying gold, you're looking at the spot price and going, all right, let's see what this is. Okay. Maybe I'll grab it. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll grab it for this. So there's all these fundamental financial and economical systems that always come into play with buying art, buying photography.
But let's say you're already in the game, and you just told me that, like, for that example, you're like, my last piece just sold for 1.1 mil or whatever you just said. For the new artist out there who hasn't sold a piece for over 40, $400, $500, whatever, how do they build that reputation? How do they build that? Go ahead.
You want it? If you price and I see a lot of young guys do it all the time. If you're a kid and you're in control of your supply and demand, and you can dictate your prices, how dare you list a piece for $150? Are you out of your fucking mind? Guess what? If you list your price for $150, you're going to sell for $150. If you're cool and fun and innovative and you can dictate your prices, like, the best artists are con artists. Think about it. You get to manifest and manipulate and do whatever the fuck you want. Bro, list that for $300K. Play that game. Move to this town. Move to New York. Move to Miami. Move wherever you need to move. And play that game and list your pieces for those prices.
Huh? Scoot this way real quick. Yeah.
And list those pieces at those prices. Play games. Play games. The industry wants to fuck around and find out. Cool. You fuck around and find out. If you want to devalue yourself and list a piece for $100, $150, you're going to sell pieces for $150. If you want to list pieces for $350K, watch your head spin the moment you sell a piece for $350K, and you're going to be like, that worked? And be like, oh, you're in control of the supply. There's no MSRP.
Supply, but in terms of the demand, how do you get eyes on that?
Marketing. So back in the day, and it's funny, I'm going to say back in the day, but back in the day, what do we think about? Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, now we're saying back in the day on these things because these are not new innovations. These are old. They're tired.
They've been around for a minute now.
Nobody gives a shit. So you have to hyper-utilize them, but you also have to explore a plethora of other mechanisms at your disposal.
Which are?
I'm not giving all of it.
Oh, not getting all the way.
No.
There you go. Explore, guys.
No, explore. Some of it you have to do the legwork. And if you're hungry, you're going to explore. You're going to be aggressive. You're going to fucking figure it out. If you're not really that hungry, you're going to go, why am I a barista and driving Uber and selling art? Yeah, no, okay. That's a you issue. You got to work through that. But if you want to stop driving Uber and being a barista and being an artist, you got to be hungry. You got to be nasty. You got to just get in the mix. You got to experiment. Experimentation is a big part of it, and people love to see the process. But I will say this, building your client base, the best and most lucrative artists out there have 6 or 7 perpetual buyers. You got to cultivate that shit. You don't want 5,000 buyers. You don't want an OnlyFans level of fucking, I got 10,000 people paying me $3 a month. Great, fuck you. You need...
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
No, I'm not knocking it, but it's a lot of work. I'm like, God, this eggplant's getting exhausting. No, I'm just kidding. But it just gets 7 or 8 people to really believe, really commit. Get the meta cheese. We need meta cheese. We need the meta cheese to understand what we're contributing to society and go, you know what? I got you.
Also, I feel like people associate price with value in the sense of...
Well, if we establish value, then it's kind of fallible.
100%. And in my world, personal training, when I hear a new trainer say, like, I'll give you the best deal, $20 an hour.
Sounds very arbitrary.
Right?
Yeah, what is the best deal?
For $20 an hour, you're going to get the best workout. They're like, they associate that $20 with a bad workout. You know what I'm saying?
No. So that's the thing. Low prices don't help you out.
They don't help you out.
It's a nasty thing. You'd be like, okay, our real HVTs, our real high value targets, they don't want to spend a small amount of money. They don't want to spend paltry. They want to go, so if I spend $900 on this workout, I'm going to be like, that's going to be a good workout. You'd be like, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of studies on it too. Influence, I forgot, it's a book. And it talks about how this guy, he owns a jewelry shop. And the jewelry's $10,000. And he dropped it down to $5,000 for his friend who was going to give it to his fiance. Right. And his friend came in and was like, I don't like it. It's not good. And he went away, didn't buy the $5,000 necklace. His friend the next day was like, I got this new beautiful necklace for you. It's the same necklace, but he said it was $10,000. He was like, it's beautiful. Like, I'm going to buy it. Like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. It's the same fucking necklace. And gives it to his fiance, and he's super happy that he bought it for $10,000. You know? And that really fucked with my head in the sense of, like, people want to spend money on valuable things.
Some people. Yeah.
The high-value client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The HVTs.
The HVTs. I'm learning all these acronyms today. I got to write them down, man.
So, yeah, it's funny. Sometimes you want a deal. Sometimes you do not want a deal.
Don't want a deal.
You don't want a deal. It devalues your product and your process to go, I've got a deal for you. And you're like, you sound cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think everyone can make a living creating?
Not everyone. No. If everyone can make a living creating, we have no baristas. I think a handful of people
baristas are
can
creating
get
too,
real
though.
fucking. No, that's what I'm saying. Most of the creatives in this town, and I went through the process. We all wear a bunch of hats. You drive a car, you give coffee, you're a bartender, you do this, you do that. And it's like you got to hustle, you got to do all that. But then you realize also that's invalidating and taking away from your process and realizing, what if you woke up tomorrow and had the ability to create with unfettered access to the creative process and not have to waste so much time doing that shit?
That hourly work.
And that's the problem. That's why you go, oh, the artists that wear all these hats. And you go, oh, it's cute, but also it's not fucking useful. It's a waste of time. So
how did you build the confidence to, I guess, step out of those hats?
Coming out of the military, I was used to starving. That's it. I was comfortable with being hungry. I was comfortable with being uncomfortable. So when you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, you go, I don't need another job. I can obsess over this one fucking focus, and I can dedicate every single bit of my cerebral being on this one mission. And when you can do that, that's freedom. So until you're able to let go of all those nickel and dime fucking jobs and focus on the one obsession in your life, you might not potentially succeed. You are probably setting yourself up for failure. You got to let that go. You got to be okay with eating Vienna sausage and crackers, living in the Lower East Side, New York, and shooting the most amazing fashion editorials of your life until you can get to the point where you're making that money. But you just got to be ready to be uncomfortable.
I love that. I think we'll end it there, brother.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where can everyone find you, Roy? Real quick.
So I guess I've got, allenhenson.com.
No Roy on that one, guys.
Yeah, no Roy.
It's distracting from the work.
Yeah. And then we've got Los Angeles Firearms.
Go check it out, guys. Go take a course with me, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.